Chapter 9:19. The ruins of the ancient celestial court that floated above the 9 heavens exuded an ancient, desolate aura. It seemed lonely and silent, and no one had come here for a long time. Now that Su Yen had come, he witnessed a period of time and space imprints left behind by prehistoric times. Now that he was searching the ruins floating above the 9 heavens, he saw some terrifying scenes that made Su Yan's soul feel dizzy. His primordial spirit had suffered serious damage before, and now it was really going to fall to the ground. He seemed to have seen numerous pillars that held up the heavens standing towering in the heavens and the earth, and these pillars that held up the heavens were numerous mighty experts. They possessed imposing auras that devoured the starry sky, dominated the universe, and revealed a supreme dignified aura that caused the universe to tremble. They were all too terrifying and majestic. It was hard to imagine what kind of powerhouses this group of powerhouses was. They still existed today with matchless heavenly might, like peerless overlords that controlled the heavens, majestic and imposing, dominating the starry sky. Su Yan's soul was shaken to the point of dizziness, and his eyes turned black. The power of these existences was too strong, and the universe seemed very small in front of them. These people were like immortal kings, high up in the 9 heavens, looking down on the world. Boom! A loud sound came from beside his ears, and the scene in the sky shattered, tearing Su Yan's primordial spirit to pieces. Su Yan's entire body was in pain and his head was dizzy. He gasped for breath, and now he wanted to see the scene around him clearly. But then, the scene in front of him disappeared, and this made Su Yan's expression uncertain. The scene reversed too quickly, and Su Yan found it difficult to regain his senses. He felt that the previous experience seemed to be real, and not like an illusion. But the scene he saw now, the world was normal, and only the broken ruins were emitting an oppressive atmosphere. Su Yan's eyes scanned the scene in front of him, and he saw a huge figure that was as tall as heaven and earth. The sun, moon, and stars surrounded him, and it really was the sky above his head and the wilderness beneath his feet. This tall figure didn't show any signs of life, and it had been silent here for who knew how many years. It was difficult to see his appearance clearly. After all, a long time had passed, and his body was covered in dust. He maintained absolute stillness, standing there without moving. "Stone man," Su Yan murmured. He felt that this figure was like a gigantic stone man, like a statue. It was majestic and huge, even more magnificent than a mountain ridge. Buzz. Su Yan's eyes suddenly opened. He wanted to use his heaven's eye to take a look and see if this was a stone man or the body of an expert who had once fallen and was still immortal after so many years. However, just as Su Yan's golden pupils shot over, he felt as if the world had exploded. The world was trembling, and all matter was falling into destruction. All matter was about to perish. Not good. Su Yan turned pale with fright. His entire body was about to crumble. He was spying on this enormous figure. This was a type of violation against him. Su Yan instantly retreated, but he was also shaken to the point of coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. His head felt like it was about to split open. He was truly shocked. Could it be that this was a former expert with an immortal body? But how strong was he? It was actually even more frightening than a supreme treasure. Even after so many years had passed, the flesh could still be filled with such a powerful deterrent force, to the extent where it was imperishable. Dare I ask if a great being could do this? Could it be an expert that surpassed a great being? Su Yan fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air. A great being was already powerful enough, but now the enormous figure in front of Su Yan was suspected to be an expert that surpassed a great being. If news of this were to spread, who would believe it? Could this be an immortal from the celestial court? Even after experiencing so many calamities, their bodies were still immortal, existing forever? For such an existence, only their primordial spirit is immortal. I'm afraid they can live forever. Could it be that they have a long lifespan? Su Yen thought about it. He didn't dare to approach the enormous stone man, fearing that he would be shaken to death. Even if such an existence died suddenly, there was still a powerful instinct in his body that could intimidate cultivators who disrespected him. Su Yen, who was patrolling in the distance, was shocked. He saw that the huge stone man had a majestic arm that was comparable to a mountain range. However, in its mountain-like palm, it was holding a gray whip. This is a supreme treasure. Su Yan's eyes turned red. He roared out loud, could this be a supreme treasure? His heart was thumping wildly. The possibility was huge. A powerhouse who was suspected to have surpassed the Almighties, then the weapon he wielded was definitely a Kuei treasure of unimaginable value. It was very likely to be a supreme treasure. He had seen the immortal binding rope before, and this whip-shaped treasure might be a supreme treasure that wasn't inferior to the immortal binding rope. Su Yan's eyes turned red. He stared at the gray whip, feeling as if he was possessed. Who could resist such a great temptation? Even a great being would lose their composure. Perhaps this treasure still retained its power. Once it was obtained, it would be the same as one of the greatest lucky chances in the Chaos Ruins. Should I give it a try? Although the danger is great. Su Yen sucked in a breath of cold air. With such a high possibility, there was still hope if he tried. Of course, it would be very dangerous. However, with such a great treasure in front of him, it was worth a try. Once he obtained it, it would be equivalent to obtaining a super killer weapon that could intimidate the peak races. Who would dare to provoke him in the future? Even the Divine King would have to step aside. Su Yen summoned his courage and directly took out the cauldron of heaven and earth. The cauldron glowed and contained the world of heaven and earth. As it burned, it floated above Su Yan's head, melting the void into a huge black hole. Su Yen also took out the great Tao Immortal Pearl and used his golden primordial spirit to protect Su Yan's primordial spirit. At the same time, Su Yen also took out a Divine King battlesuit to protect himself. After doing all this, he felt that it was about time. Even if he encountered danger, he should be able to survive. After all, it was just an immortal body. Of course, just in case, Su Yen also took out the great Tao diagram that he had obtained from the 8th grade Grandmaster of the Occult Arts. At the critical moment, it could be used to block the calamity for Su Yen. Let's go. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of decisiveness. He suddenly soared into the air and rushed towards the gray whip. In the blink of an eye, Su Yen had already come into contact with the gray whip. He could not see how powerful this treasure was, but Su Yen felt that it was not weak. Perhaps it still had the divine power of its strongest era. Let's do it. Su Yen took a deep breath. Since he was already here, he was ready to take the risk. When his palm slowly came into contact with the whip, Lu Xing's eyes widened. Su Yan's expression finally began to change. He looked a little frightened because he realized that this huge figure seemed to have faintly moved. Su Yen originally thought that he had seen wrongly, that his eyes were playing tricks on him. After all, so many years had passed. How could he still be alive? How could he still be alive? No matter how strong a person was, they would not be able to fight against time. Moreover, the era of the ancient celestial court was too far away from the present. Who could live until this era? However, when Su Yen saw the accumulated dust on the huge figure, the moment it scattered down, it was like thousands of meteors falling from the sky, revealing a kind of fluctuation that made gods and demons tremble. Impossible, could he still be alive? How could it be so strange? Su Yan's scalp went numb. Could it be that this powerhouse was alive? Su Yan's forehead was covered with cold sweat. His hair stood on end. He was frightened and uneasy. This was a kind of death threat. He wanted to withdraw directly. He was not willing to take the risk. If something unexpected happened, he would definitely not be able to survive. Who knew that between heaven and earth, there would be a loud bang? All of a sudden, there would be a huge explosion. It was as if the end of the universe had arrived. The entire world was filled with a terrifying and boundless power that wanted to tear apart the 9 heavens and shatter all things in the universe. Purring! The cauldron of heaven and earth directly collapsed, exploding into ashes. This Kuei-Bao, who had great potential, could not withstand the peerless power born between heaven and earth. Any matter that approached him would explode into pieces. Ah! Su Yen screamed. He was going to be destroyed in one blow. He even saw that the gray whip, as it shook, fell off the dust, revealing its original appearance. This was a black whip. It was simple and unadorned, but it was filled with a terrifying power that could kill gods. Su Yan's primordial spirit was really going to shatter. The great Tao immortal pearl that guarded his primordial spirit showed signs of collapsing. What kind of secret treasure was this? It specialized in attacking the primordial spirit of others. Even if Su Yan used the Sutra of Future, he could not avoid the god's striking whip. It seemed that even if he escaped to ancient time and space, his primordial spirit would still be cracked. At this moment, any defense, energy or matter, was a joke. Su Yan was terrified. His primordial spirit was about to be cracked by the divine whip. It was not just the whip. This huge body that had been slumbering for so long was actually moving again. In an instant, the ruins of the ancient celestial court shook violently. The whole world was distorted. Su Yan's divine king armor was torn apart, unable to withstand his movements. It was like an immortal king that had been slumbering in ancient times was beginning to awaken. There was even a strong prehistoric aura that crossed the river of time and surged into this era. The world seemed to be collapsing. This time and space could not withstand his aura. What kind of existence was this? Could it be that he was recovering his slumbering vitality? Could it be that he wanted to revive the withered functions of the human body? No matter what, when this huge figure and his divine whip began to awaken, everything changed. It was apocalyptic. Su Yan was in despair. What was the destruction of body and soul? Now, Su Yan was experiencing all of this. He felt that he was really going to die and walk towards destruction. Death came very quickly. He did not even have the chance to look back at this life. I've done something stupid. Su Yan's face turned green. He had been too greedy. He had been possessed. But the supreme treasure was right in front of him. He wondered if the Almighty could resist this temptation. Who would have thought that in a time even older than the immortal planet, in a place with no life, there would be a living being emerging? Regardless of whether this person was alive or not, the process of him awakening from his slumber was enough to kill Su Yan. Boom! But at this critical moment, the Celestial Emperor's war banner shone on its own. This banner appeared somewhat terrifying. It was as if a space-time storm had been waved and cut through the river of time and space. It emitted a majestic sound, as if millions of soldiers were waving their battle cries. Chapter 9:20. The Celestial Emperor's war banner glowed on its own. If it was a banner that pierced through time and space, it could command the world and summon experts to participate in the war. Not only was it a banner, but it also possessed a terrifying rallying power. When it erupted, billions of war cries exploded, as if it would spread through the 6 paths of the 3 realms and awaken the slumbering spirits of the world. However, this kind of power only appeared for a moment before it slowly dissipated. And in front of Su Yan, this terrifying existence that was about to awaken, because of the Celestial Emperor's war banner's silence, the energy fluctuations that were faintly awakened in his body also dissipated like the tide. From death to life, Su Yan's entire body froze. His eyes stared unblinkingly at this huge figure in front of him as he began to slowly return to his original position. At this moment, there was a faint sound of heaven and earth rotating, causing Su Yan to feel as if his liver and guts were about to split open. Just what kind of terrifying giant was this? Just a single movement could shake the universe and cause the great Tao of the universe to tremble. The imposing figure was surrounded by boundless divine might. He was like an emperor that ruled the universe, supreme and unsurpassed. A single look from him was infinitely frightening. After a long time, Su Yen regained his senses from his trembling. He discovered that he was still alive. It was the Celestial Emperor's war banner that saved him. He really almost died. If not for the Celestial Emperor's war banner protecting Su Yen, he felt that he really would have died. The aura emitted by this figure was too heaven-defying. Is he still alive? Is it because of the Celestial Emperor's war banner's influence that stopped his revival? If they are still alive, what are they waiting for here? Or rather, what are they guarding here? Su Yen only felt dizzy. He was also a little confused. Could it be that this terrifying existence was still alive? What kind of life was there? This was enough to shock the world. How could such a powerhouse from so long ago still be alive? How could he still be revived? Su Yen didn't even care about recuperating. He hurriedly left to avoid this evil place. He didn't want to continue exploring. Maybe he really wouldn't be able to keep his life when the time came. Is that the legendary deity striking whip? Su Yen recalled the black whip. It was terrifying and mysterious, specifically targeting one's Yuan Shun. Once struck, one's body and soul would be destroyed. Now, Su Yen was scared to death just thinking about it. If he didn't have the Heavenly Monarch battle banner, Su Yen might not even be able to see the resurrection of this mysterious expert. His Yuan Shen would have been shattered. Can that whip kill the primordial spirit of a mighty figure? And is he still alive? Damn it! My cauldron of heaven and earth has been shattered, and the Divine King battlesuit I obtained from Han Zhongming has also been destroyed. Su Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He left with his tail between his legs. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. This time, he really suffered a big loss. He tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing the rice instead. This made him feel extremely depressed. However, to be able to see such a scene and even survive, Su Yan's horizons had been broadened. He really couldn't underestimate the powerhouses of this world. There were always some terrifying life forms that possessed heaven-defying methods. In the future, when I step into the Divine King realm, will I be able to withstand the slaughter and take away the deity's striking whip? Su Yen was still thinking about the black whip. Although he didn't know what it was, if he really wielded it, he would definitely be able to kill gods and Buddhas. If a mighty figure came, Su Yen would directly pick it up and strike it. It would definitely erupt with a world-shaking divine might. AI. Su Yen sighed. What a heaven-defying good fortune. It was right in front of him, but Su Yen simply couldn't obtain it. After all, in the Chaos Ruins, to be able to obtain an opportunity of the same value as the deity's striking whip was something that might not happen in an entire era. He could encounter it once. However, this secret would forever be in his grasp. After understanding all this, Su Yan's mood became much better. One day, when he was strong enough, he would be able to return to God Burial Mountain and explore even more secrets. Perhaps he might even be able to take away the deity's striking whip. Su Yen exhaled and continued to follow the ruins. Just as he was about to continue forward, his expression changed in the next moment. This was because Su Yen saw a giant figure standing tall in front of him. This caused Su Yen to be stunned. He felt that he had gone the wrong way and had returned to his original spot. He widened his eyes and carefully identified it. It was very similar to the figure he had encountered before. The main reason was that their bodies were covered in dust and dirt. After so many years, this had accumulated on their bodies. It's not him. Su Yan's entire body trembled. He said in shock, "Heavens, this is a second powerhouse. There's actually a second powerhouse here." The reason why Su Yen was so decisive was mainly because this second giant figure was holding something. It wasn't a black whip but a gray piece of paper. It looked like a decree. Without a doubt, this wasn't the original appearance of a decree. It was absolutely covered in dust. Su Yen originally wanted to brag about this decree, but he really didn't dare to do so. The previous experience had nearly killed him. Perhaps he wouldn't be so lucky a second time. Su Yen wouldn't disturb the situation here just because he had the Celestial Emperor War Banner. A piece of paper, is this the divine seal decree? Su Yen scratched his head. He didn't dare to approach this giant figure. He stood in the distance and observed. The main reason was that the first figure was too tall and majestic, thus Su Yen didn't immediately discover that there was a second one. Could it be another supreme treasure? Su Yan's eyes turned red. He slapped himself, causing half his face to turn red. He cursed, "My old habits are acting up again. If I disturb them again, I'm afraid I'll die here." Su Yen wouldn't approach or pay attention. In short, he wanted to understand the situation here. However, the two supreme treasures still made Su Yan's eyes turn red. What a great opportunity this was! The Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether race only had one supreme treasure to protect their race's fate. Even the life-forbidden zone behind Xiaoming only had one supreme treasure, the domain-shaking painting scroll, which was second only to a supreme treasure. This showed the scarcity of supreme treasures. These things were too rare, but here, two supreme treasures were lying in front of Su Yen. But he couldn't obtain them. This made one go crazy. Su Yen once again avoided and went forward to explore. In the end, after walking for a while, Su Yen was completely shocked. This was because Su Yen discovered another giant figure. It was like a giant statue, majestic and vast, towering into the starry sky. The sun, moon, and stars revolved around it. The figure was majestic, and in the palm of its hand sat a huge seal. The huge seal was like a mountain, and it was also gray. Its true appearance was covered by dust, causing Su Yan's eyes to turn purple. What level of treasure was this? There must be more. This should be a huge layout. I wonder how many indomitable experts I'll see next. Su Yen breathed heavily and continued to search inside. As expected, he saw a fourth, a fifth, and even a sixth. He was completely stunned. There were a total of 6 supreme beings, holding different supreme treasures. There was a divine whip, a decree, a huge seal, an ancient bell, a giant cauldron, and a great halberd. A total of 6 supreme treasures. As for the last being, Su Yen felt that it was a woman. Her figure was somewhat graceful. However, her figure was also majestic, holding a great halberd, and seemed to be leading the slaughter here. Su Yan's emotions surged as he continued to explore. He didn't know if he would encounter more. However, if news of God Burial Mountain were to spread, it would cause the entire world to go crazy. There were a total of 6 supreme treasures. Even the Almighty would go crazy if they came. It was enough for a peak race to attack God Burial Mountain with all they had. You scared me to death without paying for it. Just how powerful is the ancient celestial court? If the elites who left along that path didn't return, then the remnant races of the celestial court alone would hold a peerless foundation. Su Yan's breathing was heavy. Every kind of supreme treasure was unique and had world-shaking power. When it was fully unleashed, it was said that it could even shock an almighty to death. How terrifying was this Kuei treasure? What kind of existence had refined it? Of course, Su Yen felt that these were still somewhat weak compared to the 6 supreme beings. Perhaps they were still alive, or perhaps they had left something behind before they died. They were guarding this place, in charge of guarding this world. Have I lost my way? Su Yen was stunned. When he approached another giant figure, he thought he had found the 7th one. In the end, he discovered that this was the first supreme figure he had encountered. It held a black whip. He was too majestic, unmoving since ancient times, immortal even after countless tribulations. This is a trap. Perhaps this is the end of the ancient celestial court. This is the place where the greatest secrets are hidden. Su Yen frowned in contemplation. He wanted to understand more. Perhaps he could see the secrets behind why they were guarding this place. Although Su Yan was proficient in strange techniques, with his cultivation, he couldn't see through the mysteries of heaven and earth. He went back and forth, back and forth. He didn't even know how many times he had walked. However, Su Yan always returned the same way. Especially the last time, when he recovered his primordial spirit and used it to search every inch of space. In the end, he still failed. He couldn't find a single clue. This was the most shocking layout. He couldn't see through it. With Su Yan's primordial spirit, to put it bluntly, it was almost on par with the Divine King. Su Yan was proficient in strange technique. Even a half-step mighty figure wouldn't be able to see through it. Damn it, I can't see the way forward. Do I have to leave? Su Yan smiled bitterly. He had walked back and forth here for a month, but in the end, he couldn't find anything. He was about to see the greatest secret. He was unwilling to leave just like that. Su Yan sat there and stared blankly at the giant figure. Time passed quietly. The more Su Yan looked at it, the more he felt that this figure was abnormal. It was like an empty shell. It also seemed like it didn't exist in this world. How could it stand here and shine? More and more Su Yan was a little confused. He was in a daze. He felt that he had disappeared, as if he had merged with the world. In the next moment, Su Yan stood up. He lost control of his expression. He saw it. Those were 6 unmatched experts. They towered between heaven and earth, towering between heaven and earth. They grasped various Kuei treasures and guarded this place. They surrounded a huge stone statue, but Su Yan had seen this stone statue before. Once, in history, the Celestial Court's billions of troops were chanting a person's true name in front of this stone statue. The 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 921. Su Yan sat cross-legged, his body motionless. As for his primordial spirit, it seemed to have vanished, fusing together with this space-time. He could see the hidden layout here. Although it was a bit blurry and unreal, Su Yan was still able to capture some scenes. He was shocked. 6 unsurpassed existences wielding 6 supreme treasures. They towered between the heavens and earth, unmoving since time immemorial. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Now, they had stood here for a long time. Perhaps 1,000,000 years had passed, or perhaps even longer. They didn't move at all, and their tall bodies were covered in dust. Their true appearances couldn't be seen. But now, Su Yan could see the layout here. 6 powerhouses had guarded this place for a long time, standing around a stone statue. What kind of layout was this? This stone statue was definitely a supreme existence. It was likely the master of the Celestial Court, and it was also likely the name of the Celestial Emperor that had vanished from history. This should be his stone statue. It didn't look tall, but it flowed with an ancient aura. It emitted thick traces of time, and time had left deep marks on the stone statue. Although he didn't have any aura, he had a charm that transcended past, present, and future. This charm was like the most terrifying flood of all time. It flowed along the river of time and space, passing through this world. This terrifying scene caused Su Yan's primordial spirit to uncontrollably tremble. He felt like his body was about to explode. But what truly shocked Su Yan was that there were cracks on the stone statue. How could this be? A powerhouse suspected to be the ruler of the Celestial Court. His stone statue was bound to be peerlessly terrifying. But the stone statue was covered in cracks, as if it had been guarding this place for a long time and was about to shatter. Su Yan didn't understand, nor did he understand. First of all, the layout here was enough to shake the world. He thought that even if a supreme being attacked God Burial Mountain, they would still die here. Who could break the layout here? They were guarding this place as if they were guarding something. Su Yan was a bit confused. He thought about it again. Were they guarding the stone statue? Were they guarding something that could summon his true body? Or were they guarding something? Su Yan's heart was heavy. He felt that all of this had something to do with the Buried Region clan and this universe. The Chaos Immortal Mountain was definitely very important. In the past, countless experts of the Celestial Court had died in battle here. Even the Chaos Immortal Mountain had become the God Burial Mountain. Was it related to the calamity of the distant past? No matter what, Su Yen felt that he had discovered a great secret. Although he didn't know what all of this represented, this place was extremely shocking. It couldn't be touched or trespassed. If I become strong enough one day, I should be able to uncover the secrets of this place. So many years have passed. No matter how strong the enemy is, they should have died by now, right? If they really died, they should be buried in peace. But why do I feel like all of this is related to me? Su Yan's emotions were a little unstable. He couldn't help but recall that the army of the Celestial Court had followed the existence of the true name chanter into a mysterious ancient road. Hundreds of millions of troops went on a punitive expedition, and it was very likely that they didn't return, but how could Su Yen forget what he saw in the end? Perhaps. A cold light flashed in Su Yan's eyes. Perhaps I can find some secrets from the Ancestral Hall. When the immortal planet collapsed and the burial realm was formed, perhaps there was a shadow of the Celestial Court's remnant clan. But the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether clan caught up with us. Our clan gradually declined and was on the verge of extinction. But they have been searching for the Snow Mountain Dragon coffin that our clan controlled. What does this coffin represent? And the posterior progenitor? Even the Ancestral Hall's ancestor has always wanted to capture me. What secrets do I hide? Su Yen suddenly stood up. His long black hair draped over his shoulders. His entire body was filled with a cold and domineering aura. He shouted coldly, "Then, am I related to the Celestial Court's remnant clan? But millions of years have passed. How could I be related to the Celestial Court's remnant clan?" Su Yen couldn't figure it out. He felt that it was necessary to follow the clues and pursue a mysterious path. Back then, the Heavenly Court's army blasted open that path and went on a punitive expedition. Perhaps this path still existed and could open up the old path of the past. Following it, they could search for the truth that Su Yen wanted to know. Could the Emperor's Road that Zhu Tian mentioned in the past be this concealed ancient road? Su Yen thought about it again and felt that there was a possibility. But as he thought about it, Su Yen shook his head and laughed. What was the use of thinking about this now? He had to wait until he became the Divine King, or even step into the realm of Almighties. Only then would he be qualified to pursue all of this. It's time for me to go and find my way to break through. Su Yen was ready to leave. This trip to God Burial Mountain had probably taken 2 or 3 years. He had reaped many opportunities and obtained some secrets of ancient times. He felt that he was returning from a rewarding journey. Most importantly, he had found a way to break through. This was the most important thing for Su Yen right now. Su Yen gradually moved further away from the ruins. He began to descend the mountain. The ruins of the Celestial Court that floated above the 9 heavens were desolate. Vaguely, there were terrifying figures moving about. They seemed to have awakened with a strange luster flowing around them. Su Yen abruptly turned his head to look. He felt as if he was being watched. Was it an illusion? Su Yen muttered as he patrolled the ruins of the ancient Celestial Court. He muttered to himself, "One day, I will come back. I will unravel the secrets here. Wait for me." He left with the Celestial Emperor's war banner. He followed the path back and prepared to find his own fortune. It's been half a year. Zhu Yuanqing would often take out the space-time mirror to observe the scene above God Burial Mountain. But from the time Su Yen reached the peak until now, half a year had passed. It could be said that in this half a year, the changes at God Burial Mountain had affected their nerve. Some people thought that perhaps Su Yen had obtained a fortuitous encounter and was refining his good fortune. Others thought that perhaps Su Yen had perished at the peak of God Burial Mountain. There might be some evil and strange changes at the peak. They felt that this land of death wouldn't be so easily broken through. No matter what Su Yen had obtained, whether he was alive or dead, God Burial Mountain was the focus of attention of the world. It was closely watched by the major characters of the various peak races. They all wanted to know the truth as soon as possible. But now, most of the powerhouses in the 10 Chaos Channels had left. Many powerhouses that had advanced to the Heavenly God realm in the Chaos Channels had appeared. The Chaos Ruins were a place where good fortune gathered. Death and danger coexisted. A large number of powerhouses entered the Chaos Ruins. There were countless living beings and outstanding talent. There were geniuses that made a name for themselves and young overlords that once looked down on a region had died prematurely. There were also universe secret realms that appeared, causing the young powerhouses of various races to fight for hegemony and bloodshed. As for the peak races, they were very quiet. Especially the major powers in the Chaos Ruins. Everyone knew that they were digesting the universe secret realms that their ancestors had conquered and sealed off the super-strong Pure Lands. In short, there wouldn't be too much chaos in the first few years. But the Chaos Ruins had been open for 2 to 3 years already. Some people felt that this day was coming. They just lacked a catalyst. Perhaps a terrifying universe secret realm would appear, or a terrifying incomplete universe would appear. It would completely ignite the younger generation of the Chaos Ruins to fight for supremacy. As long as there were strong powerhouses, their first target would be the Divine King. Among them, there would be miraculous items that would be of great help to the Divine King. This also meant that chaos was coming. It had been like this for generations. In the end, there would be a scene of kings fighting for hegemony. Big news, the Heavenly God Tree has really appeared. This news spread throughout the Chaos Ruins, causing an uproar among the various races. In one night, the world was turned upside down. Many young powerhouses that were training in their own universe secret realms appeared frequently. It was an exceptionally terrifying scene. A group of dragons came out of the cage and the universe rippled. It was like billions of torrents that swept towards a universe secret realm. Even the North Demon and the others rushed over. Even the strongest warriors of the younger generation from the primal Chaos Ruins appeared frequently. In a short 3 days, all the prodigies rushed to a secret region of the universe, causing a huge commotion. As expected, a corner of the Great Collision had already been revealed. Who dug the Heavenly God Tree away? Even the big shots in the outside world were shocked. One after another, old powerhouses rushed into the Chaos Ruins. It wasn't just the Chaos Tunnel that one could enter. There were other paths. The Chaos Ruins wouldn't prohibit the big shots from entering. As long as it wasn't a universe secret realm, they could come and go as they pleased. Someone swallowed 2 Heavenly God fruits in succession and rushed from the Heavenly God secret realm to the peak of the Heavenly God realm. The terrifying news spread out, causing all the big shots to shiver. This was a rare item that could only be found by chance. The Heavenly God Tree was a godly medicine tree, and the fruits on the tree were the Heavenly God fruit. It was said that a single fruit could create a Heavenly God. This item was extremely important to a race. What kind of heaven-defying treasure tree was this? Now, the news had been confirmed. A powerhouse that had just stepped into the Heavenly God realm discovered the Heavenly God Tree immediately and swallowed 2 Heavenly God fruit. His cultivation directly soared to the peak of the Heavenly God realm. The Heavenly Gods whose lifespans were almost exhausted were about to cry when they heard this news. They had cultivated bitterly for thousands of years from the Heavenly God realm to the peak of the Heavenly God realm, but someone had eaten 2 Heavenly God fruits and stepped into the peak of the Heavenly God realm. Since it was a Heavenly God fruit, it naturally wouldn't cause one's realm to become unstable due to an increase in realm. This fruit contained a heaven-defying effect. Now, it was the focus of all the powerful beings in the world. Even the big peak races all said that they wanted to seize the heavenly god tree. At the same time, in the distant god burial mountain, the scene projected by the space-time mirror made the big shots in the outside world fall silent for a short while. Many people could hear their heavy breathing. They all saw a person. Su Yen, who had disappeared for half a year, had come down the mountain. Madman Su has returned. At the foot of God Burial Mountain, there were still some people paying attention. They could faintly see that an overlord who swallowed the primal chaos had returned. On this day, the thousands of sects were in an uproar. The land of death had really been breached. Su Yen had retreated unscathed and had already begun to descend the mountain. On this day there were also cold killing intents being released. This matter was related to the good fortune of the land of death. No one could sit still. This great secret was now hidden on Su Yan's body. Were they going to let him leave God Burial Mountain safely? Baidu search Xing 81 Chinese Networko. No advertisement. Chapter 922. Su Yen returned from the mountain. Looking at this dark world, he felt as if he could see the light of day again. Su Yen had stayed in God Burial Mountain for a long time. Although his cultivation realm was still at the 8th level, compared to before, Su Yan's combat strength had increased greatly. He had also undergone a transformation from inside out. With his current situation, it wasn't difficult for him to step into the 9th level of the Divine Spirit realm. I wonder what major events have happened outside these days. Su Yan's eyes scanned the surroundings. He took a deep breath and then walked down the mountain. The Chaos Immortal Mountain was now completely useless to him. Of course, only when Su Yen was strong enough in the future could he solve the mystery of the ancient celestial court. Now, in the depths of the Chaos ruins, news about the celestial deity tree was constantly being transmitted. An ancient divine medicine tree could be considered a rare treasure. This item was enough to make any overlord's faction turn red with envy. The celestial deity fruit on the celestial deity tree was too rare and precious. It was enough to make the foundations of the various factions soar. After all, a single fruit from the celestial deity tree could make a celestial deity. It was said that the celestial deity fruit contained a terrifying celestial deity Tao fruit. After eating it, one would become a celestial deity. Although the celestial deity wouldn't surpass the sagely battle god and the others, it was still powerful enough. But for Zhu Tian and the others, obtaining the celestial deity fruit at this stage could allow their cultivation realm to soar in a short period of time. This was a gap of 9 levels. Any peak genius would turn red with envy. As long as they could obtain it, they could save many years of bitter cultivation. However, the celestial deity tree only bore a few dozen fruits over the years. If they really fought over it, it wouldn't be enough. Of course, the celestial deity tree was the most important. If it could be transplanted, it could benefit the entire faction for a long time. A miraculous return. Su Yen really created a miracle. The experts in the outside world stared at the figure that appeared in the space-time mirror. They all saw Su Yen descending the mountain without even looking back. Many people were envious. Could it be that Su Yen really obtained the good fortune of the danger zone? They wanted to know what secrets were hidden above and what had happened in the distant God Burial Mountain. Incredible! Now many young overlords are fighting over the deity tree, but Su Yen has already returned from the land of death. There were also some people who sighed. They felt that the buried realm had really produced an expert who could hold his own. In the future, Su Yen wouldn't be far from reaching the level of the Divine King. They felt that it was only a matter of time. Haha, is Su Yen qualified to enjoy this kind of opportunity? However, a gloomy and cold voice sounded, making their expressions change. What was the meaning of this? Could it be that they wanted to stop Su Yen and steal the opportunity of God Burial Mountain? When this vast region began to seethe with killing intent, some unrelated experts were speechless. Were they going to make a move? Prepare to intercept Su Yen. No matter what was said, The fortune of God Burial Mountain was enough for them to take action. The peak races couldn't sit still. Even some of the ancient aristocratic families in the primal chaos ruins were envious. If they didn't seize this opportunity, wouldn't that be too wasteful? Not good. Someone wants to trip him up and kill him in the dark. Who can sit still for the opportunity of God Burial Mountain? If they are determined to make a move, it seems like Su Yen is in danger. They won't easily break out of this situation. There were experts from the martial clan whose faces were grave. This was no longer a simple matter of enmity, but rather the fortune of Yu Clan's death trap. Once they were determined to take action, who could withstand it? Even the supreme experts of the heavens would nurse a grievance. Moreover, the ancestral hall couldn't just watch as Su Yen returned to the sea and escaped into the primal chaos ruins. They would definitely try to stop him and eliminate him as much as possible. In fact, the various races of the ancestral hall had already issued orders, informing their sect's strongest to return. They were prepared to give up the deity tree and return to hunt Su Yen. I'm afraid there won't be enough time. An expert from the northern Fey race frowned. The universe's secret realm is very far from the primal chaos passage. A round trip would take at least half a month. The northern Fey won't be able to return in such a short time. No matter. Informing the northern Fey race is just a precaution. A great figure from the Fey race sneered. Our race has already formed an alliance with the other races to obtain the secret of God Burial Mountain. Thus, we have made some preparations in advance. This time, we will definitely be able to cripple Su Yen. Some people who received the news were shocked. The various races were really going all out. They didn't care about their reputation at all. They actually wanted to join forces just to target a single person. For the secret of God Burial Mountain, they wanted to join forces and cause a bloody incident. They wanted to cripple Su Yen and force him to reveal the secret of God Burial Mountain. In fact, even if a divine king obtained it, he would still be in danger. Since ancient times, great fortunes were hard to come by. Once it appeared, who would be able to sit still? Even if they joined forces, they still had to take it down. Moreover, the one who obtained the fortune this time was Su Yen. They were afraid that he would encounter a terrifying ambush. Right now, Su Yen still didn't know that danger was approaching him. He had already left the mountain and was thinking about where to go. The chaos ruins were too big. Many areas were controlled by the various great races. Su Yen had many enemies in the chaos ruins. Once he accidentally entered a dangerous place, he would easily encounter the danger of death. He was not afraid of anyone in the same generation as him. However, if there was really a big shot who was shameless enough to attack him, it would be terrible. I don't know if I can find the dojos left behind from the era of the immortal planet. There should be some inheritance in them, right? Su Yen thought to himself. Back then, he had dreamt of returning to the immortal planet and became a disciple of the various great Tao venerables he had cultivated in the various dojos. Perhaps these once terrifying dojos had collapsed, but they weren't necessarily in a state of extinction. Perhaps these dojos had become dangerous places to guard some inheritance and good fortune. Su Yen was excited just thinking about it. He had obtained the imprint of the great Tao of the immortal planet. Perhaps he could really obtain something unimaginable. There is also the legendary Chaos Pagoda. It is said to be a supreme treasure. I wonder how strong this Chaos Pagoda is? Su Yen thought to himself, on the God Burial Mountain there are 6 supreme treasures. It is very likely that they are the 6 supreme treasures. This Chaos Pagoda is so famous that no one has been able to obtain it for a long time. Could it be even more amazing than the 6 supreme treasures on the God Burial Mountain? However, it is said that the Chaos Pagoda is open for a limited time. Once the Chaos Pagoda floats out of the water, it will cause some commotion. Su Yen thought for a long time. Finally, he said in his heart, I think I should go to the ancient city to find out more information. I wonder how the Milky Way is now. Did Baukai and the others come to the Chaos Ruins? In this vast primal Chaos Ruins, the territory was boundless. Many areas were covered by primal chaos energy all year round and were cut off by danger zones. There were also some areas that hid universe secret realms. If one could encounter a great opportunity, they could even dig out a broken universe by chance. The Chaos Ruins were extremely dangerous. However, in this vast territory there were also groups of forces, sects, and orthodoxies. There were even many major ancient cities. The most famous ancient city in the Chaos Ruins was naturally the Chaos City. It was said that the Chaos City was an ancient city that was jointly built by the Tao Temple and various major forces in the ancient era. The Chaos City was also known as the largest city in the universe. It was also a place where the strong gathered. There were no exceptions if one met a powerful being in the Chaos City. Oh right, I almost forgot about the reincarnation fruit. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of passion. Lei Zhenhe had made a deal with him in the past and revealed the information about the reincarnation fruit. Who didn't know about it? It was much more valuable than the heavenly deity tree. Eating it was equivalent to going through a reincarnation cycle. It was said that it could allow one to recultivate various secret realms and surpass one's previous foundation. This thing was coveted by even the Supremes. According to the information provided by Lei Zhenhe, the reincarnation fruit is located in an incomplete universe that is about to collapse. It is not far from the Chaos City. Su Yan had a goal in mind. He was prepared to go to the Chaos City and gather information on the immortal planet. Then, he would go to the incomplete universe to explore its secret. He left God Burial Mountain, his figure traversing through this gloomy world. Su Yan looked at the endless corpses and sighed in his heart. There were many corpses here. They should belong to the Celestial Court's experts. The Celestial Emperor's war flag, the Pegasus and the terrifying expert he had obtained in the past also belonged to the Celestial Court's experts. It is difficult to trace back the time of this battle. The God Burial Mountain seems to be drifting in time and space. I don't know where it will go in the future, Su Yan said in his heart. There were rumors that the God Burial Mountain could move. It would appear in various major regions in every era. In short, the regions where it appeared were places of death. Even powerful beings could not attack them. Without the Celestial Emperor's war flag, would Su Yan be able to climb the mountain? It was definitely impossible. The Celestial Emperor's war flag suppressed the evil spirits of the God Burial Mountain and opened a path for Su Yan, allowing him to climb the mountain. Of course, this place of death referred to the God Burial Mountain and not this vast and magnificent world. In truth, in these past years, many cultivators had explored this world. But no matter how much they searched, they couldn't find any good fortune materials. Many people gave up and returned to the Chaos Channel. There were also some bold cultivators that had designs on the Red Tornado. They wanted to take away some broken artifacts, but without exception, all of them failed. Of course, the greatest price they paid was that they all died. Not a single person survived. It was like a curse. No one could obtain anything from this land of death and blood, and Su Yan only obtained help and guidance. Of course, the Celestial Emperor's war flag was an exception. Su Yan has gone far away. I think he will soon leave the God Burial Mountain. It looks like the good fortune of the God Burial Mountain has been exhausted. Either that or Su Yan won't be able to obtain any benefits at all. I don't think he will leave so easily. Do you think there are people that want him to leave the God Burial Mountain? Or even take away the secrets of the mountain? Haha, is there even a need to ask? Lucky chances belong to the strong races and have nothing to do with a waste race. If Su Yan grasps such secrets, he will have to pay a bloody price to make him understand that the Chaos Ruins do not belong to a waste race's young powerhouse. The powerhouse that was secretly watching Su Yan had a cold and gloomy light in his eyes. He guessed that the outside world had begun to move. Su Yen could leave the God Burial Mountain, but he absolutely could not leave the Chaos Channel. Let's go too. We'll calmly watch Su Yan's end. I've been preparing for half a year. If Su Yen doesn't die this time, I'll walk backwards from now on. Haha, let's wait and see just how this overlord of a generation ends. To rewrite a legend and break through the forbidden zone of life, one must pay a bloody price. Su Yen, you can rest in peace. I will burn more paper for you on the road to the Yellow Springs. Many people's words were cruel and gloomy, as if they were sending Su Yen off ahead of time. Chapter 923. The God Burial Mountain was silent and cold. In this dimly lit world, Su Yen crossed the void and headed towards the entrance. Along the way, he didn't find any danger. The experts of the Ancestral Palace were worried that Su Yen would find out in advance. In order to not alert Su Yen, they asked Zhu Yuanqing to stop using the space-time mirror to observe Su Yan's movements. 2 days have passed. Su Yen should be at the entrance soon, right? The atmosphere outside was oppressive. The experts of the various races were anxiously waiting. They wanted to know the result. Su Yan's every move was related to the God Burial Mountain. They didn't know if the secrets of this danger zone would be revealed to the public. Soon. An expert from the demon region emitted a powerful primordial spirit fluctuation as he sneered. Su Yen will definitely let his guard down if he leaves unscathed after traveling for 2 days. We'll wait for him to let his guard down before we make our move. I'm afraid Su Yen will never expect that there's a trap waiting for him. If we can take down Su Yen in one fell swoop, I suggest that the North Monster and the others return immediately to investigate the secrets of the God Burial Mountain. That's right. No matter how precious the Heavenly God Tree is, it can't be compared to exploring the God Burial Mountain. I really hope that this danger zone can bring us many surprises. I hope that we can find the top materials in this world. In this oppressive area, powerful auras constantly rippled. The auras of the old Yuan spirits made the experts of the Martial clan and Daluo dynasty who were closely watching them change their expressions. They were plotting here and didn't leak any information. It was very likely that they were discussing something important. Su Yen is in danger. We don't know where the killing trap is. An expert of the Martial clan said in a deep voice, I hope that Su Yen can survive this calamity. This is a killing trap that several peak races have been plotting for a long time. The Han family must be the mastermind behind it. If the ancestral force of the Strange Doors is determined to kill Su Yen, they will definitely pay a huge price. I hope that Su Yen can resist them. They could only look forward to it, but they were also feeling extremely nervous. How could a killing trap set up by the joint forces of the various peak clans be easily resolved? They would definitely confirm that this was a killing trap that could kill in all heaven's supremacy. Even without Zhu Tian and the others, with the resources of the peak races, it was no problem to take out some special treasures to suppress Su Yen. Not to mention the appearance of the God Burial Mountain, they would definitely pay a price. The peak races would pay a price to deal with Su Yen. That was really frightening. It should be known that it was not just one peak clan. The monster area might have joined hands with the Ancestral Hall, the Dark Nether race, and even the Divine Firmament Star area. Of course, the Han family was behind this. Su Yen is really in trouble. An expert of the great Luo dynasty noticed the relaxed and carefree smile of the Divine King of the Ancestral Hall. They had absolute confidence, which meant that the killing trap was terrifying enough. After all, half a year had passed. Who knew what kind of death trap they had created? Could Su Yen really withstand it? Now, Su Yen was getting closer and closer to the entrance of the 10th Chaos Channel. Someone is spying on me from afar. Su Yan's expression was normal, but he was paying attention. Someone was spying on him. Although it was very subtle and difficult to detect, Su Yan's primordial spirit had transformed after consuming 10 drops of green primordial spirit elixir. His mental power was now at its peak, and it had a strength that was close to the Divine King's primordial spirit. Su Yan's primordial spirit cultivated the Sutra of Future, so it had a shocking grasp of space and time. Therefore, Su Yan felt a chill in his heart when he caught someone secretly following him. If it was the Su Yan of the past, he definitely wouldn't have been able to catch it. But now it was different. Someone was clearly following him. Although it was very careful and cautious, it was a tracking expert that trespassed into the great Tao of space. But it still couldn't hide from Su Yan's probing. Very good. Looks like someone can't sit still. The secret of God Burial Mountain is really tempting. But if you really climb the mountain, I'm afraid you won't be able to bear the losses. A smile appeared on Su Yan's face as he chuckled. Now, I really want to know how much you will pay to deal with me. Su Yan's heart was overflowing with killing intent. The blood of war that had been calm for many years was faintly burning. In truth, even if no one was following him, he would still maintain absolute vigilance. Su Yan had experienced countless life and death situations, so he couldn't be careless at this critical moment. As you wish, this land of slaughter should be in the 10th Chaos Channel. Su Yan's speed was faintly increasing. The person who was secretly following Su Yan was indeed a great expert. He was wearing a long black gown and was like a black ghost drifting in the air. He coldly said in his heart, "The door of death is approaching. Su Yan, I want to see how many tricks you have that have not been forced out. However, no matter how many tricks you have, you will not be able to escape." He believed that Su Yan wouldn't be able to discover him, otherwise the Ancestral Hall wouldn't have sent him here. This person's grasp of space had reached the acme of perfection, and now he was tracking Su Yan from such a long distance. How could there be any problems? No matter how much he thought about it, he would never have imagined that Su Yan's attainments in the primordial spirit had already approached the domain of a divine king. His mental energy undulations were powerful, and he could easily observe the movements of the grass within a radius of 50,000 kilometers. The primordial spirit is really important. Su Yan thought in his heart, if my primordial spirit can take another step forward, it will be even stronger. The primordial spirit of an almighty expert can sweep through an ancient life star or even explore a life star field. This kind of expert is truly terrifying and heaven-defying. Su Yan strolled leisurely. After another day of traveling, Su Yan finally saw the 10th Chaos Channel in the distance. Is this considered a new lease on life? Celestial Emperor Warbanner, I really have to thank you. Without you, I wouldn't have achieved what I have today. I wouldn't have been able to witness the glory of the Celestial Court. Su Yan sighed. He had cultivated on God Burial Mountain for 2 years. Now that he thought about it, he still had a lingering fear in his heart. He hoped that one day, he would be able to uncover the secrets of God Burial Mountain. Step by step, he approached the place where many people were waiting for him. The black shadow that followed Su Yan grew increasingly excited. Su Yan was already close to his destination. As long as he rushed out of the channel, what awaited him would be a nightmare of death. Su Yan knew that there was a killing trap in front of him, but he didn't fear it. Step by step, he rushed towards the entrance of God Burial Mountain. Since he had cultivated to this domain, he didn't fear any powerhouse in the world. Even if it was a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, he would still rush in. I'm coming. His pupils became increasingly sharp. His figure vanished from God Burial Mountain's territory as he stepped into the 10th Chaos Channel. When Su Yan arrived here, he was a bit surprised. His vigilance was extremely high, but Su Yan didn't discover any danger zones. Was he overthinking things? There was no danger here at all. But as soon as this thought appeared, it was directly dispelled by Su Yan. Now that he had returned from God Burial Mountain, there would definitely be people who wouldn't be able to sit still. Su Yan also let out a sigh of relief. During these years of cultivation on God Burial Mountain, he had been isolated from the rest of the world. Now that he had returned to the Chaos Channel and sensed the rich source of life in the world, Su Yan's body was bathed in a layer of divine luster. He walked forward step by step, following a path that led him to the chaotic divine mountain. He wanted to take a stroll to the land of fortune that the ancestral hall had created and see if there were any harvests. However, Su Yan had just walked a short distance when his heart suddenly became alert. All the hairs on his body stood on end. An extremely dangerous aura of death was closing in on him. There was a terrifying trend of directly shooting Su Yan down and sinking him. It was a terrifying killing trap. There was a danger that could kill all the powerhouses in the world. Even someone as strong as Su Yan had to awaken his body to resist this danger. He's coming. In the originally quiet world, rivers and mountains, a roar echoed. A low roar was heard. A clap of thunder burst out, accompanied by a vast wave of energy. The terrifying aura of death surged and shattered the sky. All of this happened too quickly and suddenly. The energy fluctuations that appeared in a short period of time had reached the peak of grandeur. Within it, one could see numerous array discs burning, emitting a killing array light that overflowed to the heavens. Boom! The vast territory swayed and trembled violently. Mountains, rivers, and the earth began to crumble as they shook. The destructive power made the cultivators in the distance tremble. They all exclaimed, "This is the activation of a super killing array. Oh my God, how can it be so sudden? Who set up this killing array? Who's suppressing whom?" Su Yan has fallen into the trap. The great figures occupying the outside world were all agitated. They all sensed the boundless source of slaughter within the 10th Chaos Passage. Even the entire 10th Chaos Passage was shaking. This was because when this killing formation was ignited, the energy gushing out was simply too violent. Whoosh! It was a killing trap that was set off in a split second, causing the world to boil and releasing energy fluctuations that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. How could there be such a terrifying killing array operating here? The cultivators passing by in the distance were so scared that they fell to the ground. They found this hard to believe. What was going on? How could such a strong energy erupt? They couldn't help but shiver, their bodies stinging with pain from the gushing killing array's strength. They even saw a figure in the sea of slaughter being torn to shreds by the ferocious light of purgatory. Whoosh! The entire audience was in an uproar. Even the big shots entrenched in the outside world felt their hearts skip a beat. Could it be that Su Yan had been killed in a single move? The Han family's old grandmaster's complexion darkened. This wasn't right, this wasn't right. Su Yan wouldn't have died so easily because everything happened too quickly. He didn't have a chance to resist at all. Could it be that he had sensed the killing array ahead of time? But that shouldn't be the case. Even if Su Yan had cultivated to the heavenly deity realm, he didn't have a powerful primordial spirit perception, so he shouldn't have sensed the killing array ahead of time. Moreover, the killing array had been activated at an astonishing speed, so how could he have avoided it? Heaven and earth were still boiling and burning. The killing array that the Han family had painstakingly prepared covered an area of 100,000 li. When it truly began to awaken, it would destroy the heavens and earth, and all living things would be killed. Haha, that demon Su Yan has finally been killed. Many people were shouting excitedly in the distance. Their voices were in unison, exploding like thunder. It shook one's soul, causing the cultivators passing by to tremble. What were they talking about? Su Yan had been killed? Could it be that the person who had entered the killing array was Madman Su? Idiots! The Han family's old grandmaster's complexion changed in anger. He didn't expect them to be so impatient. They hadn't even figured out the situation and had directly exposed their location. These people were so excited that they were dancing with joy. They hid in a spatial hole and shouted excitedly. They felt that they had killed a supreme being and were especially excited. Am I a demon? Suddenly, the dozen or so excited cultivators' faces stiffened. This was because they saw a person standing in front of them and speaking such a sentence. You! These cultivators looked as if they had seen a ghost. They pointed their fingers at Su Yen in disbelief. How could this be? Why was Su Yen still alive? How did he suddenly appear here? Why was his speed so fast? Demon, that's good too. Su Yan's dormant aura suddenly awakened. The magnificent source of qi and blood soared into the sky, and a terrifying battle constitution burned. At this moment, he really looked like a supreme demon king who had descended to the mortal world. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes released monstrous, killing intent. Even the killing array covering 100,000 li couldn't suppress Su Yan's domineering and majestic appearance. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 924. Su Yen stepped onto the stage with the attitude of a ruler overlooking the world. He suppressed the burning battle blood, and the world began to shake. Beams of dragon-shaped blood essence light appeared one after another, piercing through the heavens and causing the stars in the skies to tremble. He was too powerful and astonishing. Killing light shot out in all directions from his eyes as he overlooked the entire world, releasing endless divine radiance. It's Madman Su, it really is him. The 10th channel released a great tremor. The distant cultivators watching were all terrified. Su Yen, who had disappeared for 2 years, had returned from beneath God Burial Mountain. He stepped onto the stage with a tyrannical attitude, overlooking the world and releasing a terrifying, thunderous fury. Someone sensed that the great powers had joined hands to lay down a killing trap to trap and kill Su Yen. In the end, Su Yen had sensed this ahead of time. Moreover, with his current speed, he could have left the disaster zone in the blink of an eye. Now, the energy fluctuations he erupted with were terrifying to the point where all the powerhouses in the spatial hole trembled with fear. Their eyes were filled with dread. Time seemed to return to several years ago when Su Yen unleashed a slaughter in the 10 great chaos channels. But now, he was even more powerful than before. He stood at the peak of his era, overlooking his peers. Even heavenly deities would have to crawl before him. Apu. There were old powerhouses who cried out miserably. Their primordial spirits felt like they were going to split apart. Their hearts were filled with fear. How could this be? How could Su Yan's primordial spirit be so strong? Before the pressure even reached them, when Su Yan's primordial spirit erupted, that terrifying spiritual strength made their primordial spirits feel like they were going to split apart. What kind of astonishing primordial spirit cultivation was this? They were all dizzy. At the same time, they also realized that this was the key to Su Yen avoiding this killing trap. His primordial spirit Dao field was extraordinary, allowing him to avoid disaster ahead of time. Su Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. He never thought the Han family would pay such a great price to create such a powerful killing trap. If it was the previous Su Yen, he feared he really would have fallen for it. All of you deserve to die. Su Yen let out a thunderous roar towards the sky, and his demonic aura filled the sky. Millions of layers of golden ripples rippled out from his body, and they contained the origin of blood essence that covered the sky. With a whoosh, they struck towards this time and space hole. Under the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, the space-time hole that interweaved with all kinds of formation marks suddenly collapsed with a loud rumble under Su Yan's loud roar. Ah! The wrath of the gods and devils could burn the mountains and boil the seas. One after another, the cultivators' corporeal bodies directly exploded. They couldn't survive at all. It was like a giant vicious beast looking down on the world. With a loud roar, it caused the universe's celestial bodies to fall down one after another. Oh my God! All of the experts who saw this scene shivered inwardly. This type of exuberant divine force was even more terrifying and frightening than the old monsters. With a great roar, the gods and devils in the sky all withered away. There were even heavenly deities who coughed out large mouthfuls of blood, their bodies cracking apart. This type of tyrannical aura, exceptional sharpness, shocked the world, making the 10th chaotic passage completely boil over. Without a doubt, Su Yen became even stronger, easily able to cover the heavens. He definitely stepped into the heavenly deity realm. Hong Long. When Su Yen spat out, a great flood gushed out, defying the heavens and throwing the earth into chaos. Even heavenly deities coughed out heart blood, their expressions filled with despair. Just how powerful of a source of life was this to be able to produce such terrifying destructive force? Without a doubt, the entire space-time whole flowed with a long river of blood. Several dozen cultivators had their corporeal bodies crushed by Su Yan's roar. When his palm reached out, it was as if the hand of the heavens was grasping the bodies of cultivators one after another. Pung! This place exploded. Su Yen broke through the entire space-time hole, sacrificing the experts of various races. Kill him for me, kill him! Many people lost control. They racked their brains to arrange this killing trap precisely because they wanted to kill Su Yen and trap him within. However, they fell as soon as they began. A great tumble. Losing a few cultivators wasn't much, but the key was that it was too shameful. Were they going to let the entire world see them as a joke? Of course, they also understood that the killing trap had just begun. However, for Su Yen, the blood in his body was already boiling. He had to fight to the end. This was also merely the beginning. 1. A great banner fluttered about, interweaving with profound formation markings. It emerged from a space-time hole, and as it danced about, ghosts wept and deities howled. The heavens collapsed and the earth split apart, and the winds waved about with woo-woo sounds as it tore through the heavens. Su Yen, you definitely won't be able to escape. A group of young experts slaughtered their way out from the Han family. Every single one of them possessed heaven-shocking strength. Their might was constantly combined together, forming a terrifying great formation diagram. They possessed world-shocking strength that could sweep through all the kings of their generation. No matter how strong you are, since you've already entered the trap, you are destined to die here. Another space-time hole shone. A group of young seeds from the ancestral hall slaughtered their way out. They held all types of killing weapons in their hands, and they could easily suppress these rivers and mountains. Su Yen, your end has already arrived. Are you going to surrender without putting up a fight? If you can still slaughter your way out, then we might as well just smash ourselves to death on tofu. A third space-time hole ignited. A group of creatures from the fiend domain rushed out, and each of them devoured the starry skies. Essence blood surged as they crossed the battlefield. Their blood and chi flowed endlessly, rising and falling like boundless smoke signals. God Burial Mountain's secret is destined to belong to us. The fourth space-time hole shone, and tens of thousands of lightning streaked about. A group of experts from the Divine Firmament sect walked out, brandishing heavy lightning hammers. They emitted thunderous sounds from the 9 heavens, and they could easily destroy the bodies of experts. In succession, there were all types of space-time holes that lit up. The expressions of the spectators changed. There were over 100 peak experts, and they were all experts at the heavenly deity domain. They were the most prestigious figures of their younger generation, and their eyes all emitted killing intent. What kind of situation was this? Over 100 peak experts, all of them surging with essence blood, burning like a great furnace. Over 100 overlords killing intent poured down like a waterfall, releasing a terrifying deterrent force that intimidated the rivers and mountains of the universe. What terrifying methods! The various peak races have joined hands, dispatching their elites to kill Su Yen. Many people's hearts trembled. Over 100 peak experts had joined hands, and they were the elites of the various races. They held all kinds of treasures in their hands. Who could escape from such a situation? Su Yan's hair was thick. He stood tall between heaven and earth, facing the crowd alone. There was a terrifying tyrannical aura rising, releasing his own unique radiance. He had killed his way here, so he wouldn't be frightened by such a lineup. Ha 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 ha. He was laughing loudly with his head raised. In the end, his body blazed like a furnace that covered the heavens. He coldly stared at them and shouted, "Who dares to come and fight me?" When these words were spoken, the experts who were trying to kill Su Yen had gloomy expressions. Someone directly said, "Su Yen, your end is already here. Don't be so arrogant. My clan's Zhu Tian disdains to kill you now." A bunch of trash. Su Yen let out a short shout, causing many people's blood and qi to churn. They couldn't stand steadily. He sneered and said, "If you don't dare to come, then come at me together. You useless chickens and pottery dogs want to kill me? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourselves in the mirror? You're too arrogant." Over 100 peak experts were enraged. Their auras erupted at the same time. This might wasn't too shocking. They formed a vast sea of essence blood and pierced through the heavens. The sea of stars filled the sky and swept through the desolate lands. The world was illuminated resplendently. Even Su Yan's might had to be suppressed. These were over 100 peak experts dispatched by the various peak races. Under their fury, the mountains and rivers lost their color, and the sun and moon lost their luster. Everything was about to crumble, break. This method is too frightening. Can Su Yen endure it? These are over 100 peak experts. The various races are truly ruthless. They actually sent over 100 peak experts to kill Su Yen. Do they want to directly destroy him? Who knows? Let's wait and see. Madman Su's combat strength is exceptional. He'll definitely respond to them with his strongest power. I don't believe Su Yen will be suppressed. Just wait and see. The various races' faces will definitely turn green. Don't be too optimistic. The various races have paid such a great price. How can they let Su Yen escape unscathed? I reckon they've come for the secret of God Burial Mountain. The spectators grew more and more. They were truly shocked. The various peak races were truly shameless. They had joined forces to dispatch over 100 peak experts to surround and hunt Su Yen. Suppress. They roared in unison. Their momentum shook the heavens and surged forward with great momentum. They had already arranged a strategy before. Now, they had erupted with a terrifying energy source. Over 100 peak experts joined forces to resonate with the source of life within their bodies. One could imagine just how magnificent this scene would be. It was as if a sea of stars in the cosmos had been severed and hacked down. Everything was covered up and suppressed. The streams of energy that seeped out made all deities tremble. It was extremely difficult to resist this type of intimidating force. It was to the extent where some of them were even wondering if they could suppress a divine king with just their divine force alone. Everything became indistinct. The void was melted down. No matter what, it couldn't stop this terrifying momentum. Look! Someone cried out because they discovered that Su Yen was unmoved from beginning to end. No matter how the heavens fell and the earth cracked, he remained unmoved. It was as if he had transformed into a cauldron that stood indomitable. No matter how the wind blew or the rain battered him, Su Yen was like a king overlooking the world. The condensed great Tao divine force within his body also welcomed an era of recovery. Even though their might was strong, Su Yen had climbed the mountain for over a year. He had endured all kinds of hardships and completed the bloody trial. How could the previous Su Yen compare to him? Hong Long. In an instant, people felt as if the earth had been trampled to pieces. That shadow finally began to erupt. At this moment, he was sharp to the extreme. His flesh burned fiercely and his pores gushed out with peerless sharpness. Su Yen seemed to have transformed into a great halberd that could cleave all things, cut down all creatures, and kill all kings in the world. Rip! A large black crack appeared. No matter how strong the energy source was, it couldn't stop Su Yan's peerless fighting strength. A large hole was formed in the sky. That figure blazed with boundless brilliance. Who dares to take a punch from me? Su Yen roared loudly. Thousands of true dragons circled around Su Yan as they passed through the sky. He withstood the monstrous pressure and released his overwhelming combat strength. Once the strength of the true dragons that filled the sky completely erupted, it was as if 10,000 dragons had left their nest. Dong! He also brandished his fist. 10,000 dragons left the cage and pierced through the blue sky. His strength was peerless. Brothers, the second chapter has been updated in advance. I've been too busy these days. A few of my friends are getting married and I have to attend. It's getting closer and closer to my wedding. I won't be home at night. In addition, I'll be preparing a red packet on my public account. Everyone, follow my public account, One Leaf of Clear Sky, and check the history. It was just released this morning. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 925. How could this be? The scene in the space-time mirror caused many people to feel a chill run down their spines. These were over 100 peak experts working together to resonate with their life sources in an attempt to trap Su Yan. However, the difference in the outcome was too great. Su Yan had used his absolute strength to forcefully break open the seal and even release a heaven-shaking combat strength to punch over 100 peak experts. Inconceivable. Su Yan's divine force is too tyrannical. His combat strength is completely different. Just what kind of opportunity did he obtain on God Burial Mountain? He has tempered himself countless times. Even with such a powerful energy suppression, he can still use a unique method to tear open an opening. He must have comprehended some form of combat strength evolution. He must have gone through a bloody tempering. Did he obtain it on God Burial Mountain? Or could it be that Su Yan obtained some kind of prehistoric extreme art? The old antiques of various races discussed spiritedly. They wanted to uncover the secrets of Su Yan's cultivation. Before, he seemed to have transformed into a cauldron that withstood the terrifying suppression of the world without fear. Later on, he even transformed into a great halberd with matchless sharpness and forcefully hacked open the seal. One had to say that this was a type of miracle. It was also a type of combat strength evolution that had been cultivated to an extremely profound level. This was especially true for the martial race experts who were proficient in all kinds of martial arts extreme art. Su Yan had used his strength to break through, using the extreme combat strength he excelled in. It had to be said that this was a type of violent beauty. However, they never imagined that Su Yan would use violence to curb violence and respond with a peerless attitude. This was a bit too shocking. There were also some old experts from various orthodoxies who sighed. If Su Yan wasn't a rising star of the buried region race, perhaps they would have already come and accepted Su Yan as a disciple. Everyone knew what he lacked was resources. However, Su Yan already possessed them. This trip to God Burial Mountain would inevitably be a fruitful one. Only the peak experts of the ancestral hall had gloomy expressions. They were speechless. Over 100 peak experts had joined forces to suppress him, yet he still managed to escape. Wasn't this too frightening? Just how powerful was his foundation? Just what kind of origin energy did he fuse with? Actually, the reason why Su Yan could erupt with such tyrannical power was naturally due to the primal chaos source gas. He used brute force to break through the technique, and even more so, he erupted with terrifying strength. The fist light he brandished was like a rainbow, containing a spiritual will that could pierce through everything. In particular, the 10,000 dragons coming out of the cage shook the heavens and the earth, containing a kind of supreme heavenly might. Boom! Once this fist was unleashed, it would slay even gods and Buddhas that stood in its way. Roar! It was a world-shaking scene. It was as if a real true dragon was being bombarded out. One after another, golden light filled the sky. Dragon roars shook the heavens. There was a kind of supreme might. Su Yan unleashed the profundities derived from the dragon totem, channeling the true dragon bloodline's great divine abilities, and mercilessly blasting them out through the large crack that he pierced through. Over 100 peak experts paled. They had already unleashed such a vast source of energy, but Su Yen could similarly break through it. He even seized the initiative and erupted with a great killing technique. Boom! In a single exchange, the dozen or so experts trembled, bloody holes appearing in their bodies. They didn't even have time to react. Their expressions were filled with fear as the true dragon directly penetrated their bodies. Heavens! Everyone was frightened. What kind of crazy and ferocious method was this? It was ridiculously ferocious. Even the killing strength that Su Yen erupted with arrived in an instant, directly piercing through the chests of the dozen or so cultivators, causing them to cry out miserably. They were in so much pain that they wished they were dead. They felt as if their bodies were about to collapse. Incredible, incredible! The martial clan was incomparably shocked. He arrived in an instant and erupted with such a powerful strength. Just what kind of cruel training did Su Yen undergo? He actually possessed such a tyrannical method. His grasp of battle form had truly reached a terrifying level. Bastard, kill him for me! The remaining group of peak experts were furious. They no longer hid their strength or acted arrogantly. However, the storm they stirred up was a bit frightening. There were great killing weapons flying through the air, war banners waving in the air, thunder hammers bombarding down, and killing swords slashing down. In short, they all carried all kinds of heavy killing weapons. In addition, they released energy from their bodies, causing this scene to be too shocking. Who could block this kind of power? Schwa! However, in the next moment, some people felt as if their hearts had been grabbed and crushed. A person's heart was filled with great fear. Su Yen arrived in an instant using the earth-shrinking technique. He crossed time and space and appeared in front of an enemy. His domineering aura had already caused this person to tremble in fear. It was as if he had fallen into purgatory. No! He was frightened to death. He didn't even have the courage to resist and directly fled for his life. Bastard! This scene really caused the various large clans of the Fiend realm to explode with anger. Damn, over 100 peak experts were surrounding Su Yen. He, on the other hand, directly fled after facing Su Yen. Just what were you afraid of? At the same time, this also proved a problem. Su Yan's ferocious might was too great. Among the younger generation, how many people dared to compete with him? Boom! This fleeing person had just taken a few steps when the boundless space began to tremble. Don't kill me! He was frightened to death. His liver and gallbladder were about to split apart. The energy source that came from the trembling space caused his eyes to darken, and he was about to faint. This person had completely lost his will to fight. His entire body trembled, and he even felt a chill run down his neck. His soul was completely swallowed up by fear. His head had been removed by Su Yen and then crushed by Su Yen. Damn it, suppress him for me. Peak experts from all directions went mad with anger. They had sent out so many experts, but could it be that they couldn't stop Su Yan's footsteps? The moment Su Yen killed this person, all kinds of vast energy sources surged through the skies. They wanted to use a peerless stance to directly suppress Su Yen. However, the moment all of this approached him, Su Yen let out a long roar. His pores spewed out brilliant light, interweaving with thousands of mysterious heavenly marks, flowing with the supreme profundity of the beginning of all things, and filled with a terrifying sense of oppression. Su Yen seemed to have transformed into a bell of the great Tao that was born at the beginning of the chaos. It rumbled, and the sound waves could be said to be like thunder, emitting a kind of destructive lightning tribulation light that forcibly tore apart the killing power that filled the sky. Lightning profundity. Many people's expressions changed, especially the experts of the Divine Firmament sect. Their expressions were uncertain. This was the lightning profundity, and the level of cultivation was extremely high. How could Su Yen grasp the lightning profundity? Who taught it to him? Right now, they were not in the mood to think about these things. In short, no matter how spectacular the divine power between heaven and earth was, as long as it did not exceed a certain limit, Su Yen was still standing in the domain of invincibility. In the next moment, he transformed into a lightning halberd, surrounded by lightning, and slashed into the battlefield. It was an extremely spectacular scene. The lightning halberd was snow-white and monstrous, splitting layers of energy sources. The radiance that scattered down was like thousands of lightning dragons that surged into the battlefield, erupting a series of huge earthquakes. Is he invincible? Su Yan's actions made them turn pale with shock. They saw Su Yan rush into the battlefield, brave and invincible, and his moves were grand. Just like that, he swept all the way, his body swooping down close to the ground. Who could stop his power? He sometimes transformed into a halberd, sometimes into a bell of the great Tao, and sometimes into a dragon and tiger. His aura changed constantly, surging with the peerless power of the beginning of all things. Boom! Everything collapsed. He was simply a sharp blade that cut through the battlefield. With a loud roar, 10,000 mountains trembled and the primal chaos collapsed. Everything before him was disdainful and the world shook. So what if there were over 100 peak experts? They simply could not trap Su Yan. The journey to the God Burial Mountain had tempered Su Yan thousands of times. Now, he was verifying his own gains here. One had to admit that he had transformed and was completely different. Every movement of his was suffused with a terrifying sense of oppression. One peak expert after another was killed by Su Yan. A mountain range was shattered and sunk by his roar. What left them flabbergasted was that when a lightning hammer struck Su Yan's flesh shell, it actually produced the sound of iron striking. Just how sturdy was this body? It was so domineering that even treasures couldn't damage it. Even the experts wielding the lightning hammers were shaken to the point that their palms were cracked. Bastard! The Han family's old grandmaster's eyes turned red. If Su Yan hadn't sensed the danger beforehand, he definitely wouldn't have been able to break through the Han family's painstakingly prepared killing formation so easily. However, even without the killing formation, over 100 peak experts working together still couldn't suppress Su Yan. They even found it difficult to injure him. Su Yan swept through the entire battlefield. His combat strength grew stronger as he fought. His divine power of the great Tao covered the sky and filled the earth. A peerless overlord of a generation erupted. It was as if he was stepping on the corpses of kings. He stood at the peak of the heavens, majestic and imposing, shocking the world. Su Yan is invincible. Someone lost control and let out a roar. His reverence was self-evident. This was an invincible stance that swept through the entire battlefield. Who could stop Su Yan? Over 100 peak experts couldn't trap him. Su Yan had forcefully broken through the situation. Perhaps only Zhu Tian and the others could pose a threat to Su Yan. As for the other experts, they weren't on the same level at all. No matter how strong you are, you still have to kneel before us peak experts. Su Yan, hand over your life. Someone couldn't bear such a crushing defeat and finally let out a roar. A diagram shot out from his sleeve. As it burned fiercely, it was as if a corner of the universe had fallen from the sky. It emitted a source of energy that could suppress all things in the universe. This diagram was magnificent and peerless. On the diagram, the sun, moon, rivers, and mountains were engraved. They interweaved with supreme momentum and were filled with peerless power that could suppress kings. At the moment when he erupted, vaguely, there were millions of mountains lined up. The stars in the sky rumbled and revolved. In short, the aura it emitted locked down an area of 100,000 miles. This is the Sun-Moon Mountain River diagram. The expressions of the experts of the older generation changed. They couldn't help but exclaim. Their eyes turned red because this was a rare supreme treasure, the Sun-Moon Mountain River diagram. Rumor had it that this diagram required the essence of millions of mountains and the source of endless stars. It was a rare supreme treasure that could only be forged after a long period of tempering. The potential of the Sun-Moon-Mountain-River diagram could be said to be endless. Its suppressive power was peerless and terrifying. It could be said to be an invincible treasure of its generation. The trump card of the Han family, the Sun-Moon-Mountain-River diagram, was extremely precious. Its forging method was too profound and complex. It was extremely difficult for a grandmaster to forge it. The value of this diagram couldn't be measured by money. It was a supreme treasure that the ancestors of the Han family spent countless years to forge. Chapter 926. The whole place was in an uproar. The Han family had really spent a lot of money. Logically speaking, the potential of this Sun-Moon-Mountain-River painting was so great that it shouldn't only be at its current level. The old grandmaster of the Han clan stepped forward and explained, "This diagram was originally made for the younger generation of the Han clan's supreme martial artists. It would be easy for it to evolve into a divine king's weapon. In the future, it might even evolve into a supreme martial artist's saint weapon. A sun, moon, river, and mountain painting that contained a great Tao saint weapon was truly an extremely rare treasure. In order to forge this treasure, the Han family had spent countless years gathering the essence of millions of mountains and excavated the source of stars in the sky. Finally, they had smelted a precious chaos crystal to forge the sun, moon, river, and mountain painting. This item could be called an invincible weapon of the same generation. Now that the Han family had taken out the sun, moon, river, and mountain painting, it was to keep Su Yan in check. They believed that even with Su Yan's monstrous dermic powers, he would still be kept in check by the sun, moon, river, and mountain painting. Boom. In fact, Su Yan had already sensed the threat when the sun, moon, mountain, river painting sank that day. He wanted to use spatial contraction to leave this battlefield. However, once the sun, moon, mountain, river painting was unleashed, it would definitely lock onto a powerful enemy. Faced with all kinds of unfathomable pressure, Su Yan's speed dropped sharply. He was somewhat astonished as he looked up at the sky. It was a real arrangement of millions of mountains, faintly discernible in the chaos. Moreover, there were many stars in the universe revolving around the mountain, emitting a world-shaking fluctuation that pressured the various kings. This caused Su Yan's expression to change. This diagram was simply tailor-made for him. The power of this supreme treasure embryo was truly astonishing. When it smashed down, it was as if 1,000,000 mountains and stars were crashing down. Facing this kind of suppression, who in the same generation could withstand it? Almost all experts below the Divine King level would die with a single touch. "I don't believe he can withstand it," the Han family's old grandmaster said coldly. He was full of confidence. In order to resist Su Yan, the Han family had paid a heavy price. Now, even the Sun, Moon, Mountain, River painting's foundation had been revealed. How could it not suppress Su Yan? Boom. It was as if the heavens were sinking, and also as if the sun and moon were sinking. In short, the heavenly phenomenon was heaven-defying. The instant it came crashing down, the bodies of over 100 peak experts were about to split apart. The strength of this secret treasure was enough to make people despair. The power of the sun, moon, rivers, and mountains painting had already exceeded their understanding. It was also closely related to the strange gate. Now, the moment this picture fell, it was equivalent to millions of mountains and millions of suns and moons sinking together, sealing heaven, decimating earth, locking down Su Yan. Roar! Su Yan looked up at the sky and roared. His body was burning like an immortal furnace, releasing resplendent light. It was as if an emperor's star had been released and awakened with boundless brilliance. The situation he was in was extremely dangerous. The sun, moon, river, and mountain painting had already fallen. The power it released made Su Yan's powerful body tremble. His flesh shell had caved in and was about to collapse. Blood was also spurting out of his pores. This pressure was truly unprecedented. It restrained Su Yan and bound him between heaven and earth, making it extremely difficult for him to move. In fact, Su Yan's performance was already shocking enough. Such a powerful suppression force couldn't even injure Su Yan. It could only barely suppress him. It was enough to show that Su Yan's strength had reached an extreme level. It was as if Su Yan was carrying millions of mountains and the sun, moon, and stars in the sky that were about to fall. The peerless suppression made Su Yan's body rumble continuously. He would have exploded into blood if he wasn't strong enough. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take action. The cultivator of the Han family, who activated the sun, moon, mountain and river painting, shouted, "The time to suppress Su Yan has come. What are you waiting for? Ha ha ha, no matter how strong Su Yan is, he won't be able to escape being suppressed. Our clan has even activated the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. Su Yan, accept your fate. Hurry up and suppress Su Yan." The peak experts standing tall in all directions were overjoyed. They recovered at the same time and activated all kinds of divine weapons. They even evolved all kinds of divine abilities and secret technique. All of them attacked Su Yan, who was being suppressed by the sun, moon, and river painting. Not good. Everyone's faces fell. Who could withstand this? Even if it was a divine king, they would definitely be beaten to death. Some people felt that this was shameful. Too shameless. Some people cursed. They can't defeat Su Yan, but they used supreme treasures to suppress him, and then used human wave tactics to kill Su Yan. This is too shameful. Don't the Peak clans have any face left? Many people bitterly smiled. The Peak clans were indeed Peak clans. The sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting was taken out just like that. Su Yan suddenly became stronger. Now, did he have any hope of surviving this calamity? Good, well done. If we can suppress Su Yan, your Han family will take the greatest credit. What a good sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. It's worthy of being called a rare supreme treasure. Let's see how Su Yan will escape. The experts outside clapped their hands and laughed. As long as they could suppress Su Yan, they could interrogate him about the secrets of God Burial Mountain and obtain everything they wanted to know. Ah! The Han family's old grandmaster laughed. Was there any suspense? Su Yan was imprisoned under the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. He simply had no room to resist. He could only look on helplessly as the peak experts of the various clans surrounded and hunted him down. Originally, some of Su Yan's admirers were still holding on to some fantasies, but in the end these fantasies were mercilessly shattered. That was because the peak experts of the various clans had already covered Su Yan and were attacking him. Blood splashed out on the spot, dyeing the void red and splashing onto the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. It's over. Su Yan's legend is about to come to an end. Many people spoke in a daze. Su Yan was completely finished. He was suppressed by the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting and couldn't kill his way out. Rumble. Blood constantly splashed out from the source. Many people saw Su Yan being beaten until he was coughing up blood. A great seal smashed into his back, causing cracks to appear on his spine and his back to cave in. There were even cold killing swords that pierced through Su Yan's chest. Waves of cold light burst out. If Su Yan's body wasn't so tough, these swords would have pierced through Su Yan. The killing light that filled the sky surged endlessly, constantly bombarding Su Yan's body. Su Yan roared angrily. His entire body was unrecognizable. His powerful body was really about to explode, and he was walking toward destruction and death. After all, the power of so many peak experts was attacking a single person. To be able to withstand a round of attacks and not die was already terrifying enough. Just how strong is his body? Many people were shocked. However, no matter how strong the body was, it would definitely not be able to withstand a few attacks before it would be seriously injured. Buzz. Su Yan's body that was about to be smashed into pieces glowed. The divine power of the great Tao surged within him as he broke free from the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. The sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting became more and more powerful. The earth veins and the alignment of the sun and moon contained a certain order and pattern. It flashed in Su Yan's eyes. The sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting was indeed very powerful. However, no matter how powerful it was, it also contained the order of the mysterious array Tao. The key was that this treasure had yet to grow and evolve. Therefore, Su Yan could roughly see that and find a way to break it. Su Yan, go on your way obediently. Ha ha ha, the road to the Yellow Springs won't be too lonely. I'll burn more paper for you. The experts besieging Su Yan were all laughing angrily. The peak experts of various races continued to use their divine abilities and secret techniques to target Su Yan. This made Su Yan, who was silent in his deduction, extremely angry. His body was rippling with boundless fiendish aura. His originally weak body was erupting with terrifying light because he had swallowed a large amount of primal chaos treasured liquid. What's mine will be mine sooner or later. I'll kill you first and talk later. Su Yan's eyes blazed as he stared at them. His voice was like thunder, and his entire aura surged. Some of the sharp swords that had pierced his body were forced out. Su Yan's blood-stained hair danced wildly. Under the sudden suppression of the sun, moon, and stars, he also appeared exceptionally terrifying and full of a supreme sense of oppression. What are you doing? Immediately after, some people's faces changed in shock. They saw Su Yan stretch out his four limbs, shaking the mountains and stars in the sky to the point of rumbling. This caused everyone to be shocked. Just how strong was his divine power? Vast divine strength spread out. Su Yan seemed to be moving the entire world, causing the mountains in the sky to rumble. His momentum shook the heaven and earth. Not good. The old grandmaster of the Han family stood up abruptly. His chest was heaving up and down violently, and his expression was gloomy. He discovered that he had overlooked a fatal problem. That was, Su Yan was the expert with the most control over the topography. The grandmaster of the Han family's occult arts was definitely inferior to Su Yan in terms of mastery of the topography. Now, Su Yan had directly activated the power of the mountain range and destroyed most of the divine might of the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting. Moreover, under his control, the millions of mountains were reorganizing and opening up a path for Su Yan to survive. Suddenly, the sun, moon, and stars in the sky were about to fall. However, it was already extremely difficult to suppress Su Yan. His entire body was rippling with brilliant light as he forcibly opened up an invincible domain that belonged to him. What a terrifying Su Yan! He can even break through this killing trap. Just how strong is he? Everyone exclaimed. What kind of situation was this under the suppression of the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting? However, Su Yan had forcefully split it apart and even forcefully opened up a domain, directly breaking the unique power of the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting. When Su Yan's tyrannical strength reached its peak and poured out, Su Yan seemed to have disappeared from the world and disappeared in the long river of time. That is, suddenly, the expressions of some of the experts who were joining forces to attack Su Yan changed. They seemed to have seen a mighty figure standing in the river of time and space, and that figure was looking down at them with the intention of making them submit. My Tao seems to have disappeared. Could it be that my Tao has been eliminated? What is Su Yan doing? Their words were trembling because they discovered that a unique world was born. Their Tao dissipated and all things were born. In the world, only Su Yan soared into the sky. He was like an ancient mountain, a celestial palace at the peak of the 9 heavens, containing a source of power that could shatter everything. It made them feel as if they had encountered a blow that could destroy the world. No. In the next moment they cried out miserably. This was a kind of absolute power that couldn't be stopped. This was Su Yan waving his fist. The power of his fist was like a rainbow, surging like waves. It caused a great tremor in heaven and earth. Everything was penetrated and no longer existed. One after another, the top experts cried out miserably. Under Su Yan's peerless combat strength, they were all destroyed in body and soul. Not even ashes were left. Before they died, they couldn't figure out how Su Yan did it. How did he suppress the Tao? What was this? This was the initial fist. When the invincible secret technique in history exploded here, it was really enough to kill all enemies and punch all the kings in the world. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 9:27. Shadows appeared one after another. They were all the top experts of the various tribes. Now they were all sent flying. Everyone saw a bloody hole the size of a bowl on their chest. But when they saw it clearly, they found that the bodies of these top experts had exploded. Only the cultivators with strong mental power could sense that the aftershock of Su Yan's fist in their bodies was filled with the power to penetrate everything. It was surrounded by the primordial aura of all things and shattered their vitality. At the very least, the bodies of 6 top experts had been destroyed by Su Yan in an instant. They screamed miserably and died miserably. Su Yan stood under the sun, moon, rivers and mountains as if he was carrying millions of mountains and stars. He still released a terrifying power that could sweep away all his peers, shocking everyone. How could this be? How did Su Yan do it? Someone's voice was trembling. How could something so ridiculous happen? The sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting couldn't trap Su Yan at all. Instead, he stretched his body in the desperate situation and killed 6 top experts. Su Yan's ferocious aura filled the entire place, intimidating the enemies. What could they use to stop Su Yan? Only the big shots outside could see that Su Yan had changed the power of millions of mountains and destroyed most of the power of the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to break free. This also pointed to a serious problem. Su Yan's cultivation of the mystic gates had reached a superb level. He destroyed the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting just like that. His mastery of the terrain chapter made the old grandmaster of the Han family gloomy. In fact, it was because the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting hadn't evolved into the domain it should have. If it was refined and its power transformed, Su Yan wouldn't be able to neutralize most of the power of the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting with his current cultivation. But it was too late to say anything now. The sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting obviously couldn't keep Su Yan in check. If he was allowed to continue killing, more than half of the top experts would die. Then, could this killing trap Su Yan? Don't panic. The sun, moon, river and mountain painting is still suppressing him. Continue attacking. The Han family cultivator who wielded the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting angrily shouted at them. Although he had lost control over the essence of the millions of great mountains, the grand momentum of the heavens was still arranged and circulating. Countless cosmic celestial bodies were also revolving. These were real celestial bodies. A certain expert of the Han family had spent tens of thousands of years painstakingly gathering the essence of the sun and moon in the outer realms. They were arranged into the grand momentum of the heavens. Boom! The young experts of the Han family shook the sun, moon, rivers and mountains painting. Countless stars lit up, and their radiance reached the pinnacle. Streams of silver river energy began to converge, emitting waves of terrifying energy that swept through all directions. The great stars in the universe rotated, and the energy that flowed down suppressed Su Yan's corporeal body. His corporeal body staggered, and he looked like he was going to fall to the ground. Let's go. This scene caused the peak-level experts who were previously scared out of their wits to shout out. They were all Ingjie of the younger generation. Their battle strength was tyrannical, and they activated all kinds of great killing weapons as they rushed over. There were also dozens of divine abilities and secret techniques that were released. This was a super strong suppression. Heaven and earth were submerged in godly might. The crowd of heroes rushed over, and the space trembled and exploded. Countless rays of light began to converge on Su Yen. Kill! They roared hysterically and released their strongest battle strength. It was a shocking scene. These peak-level experts of the younger generation had truly gone mad. Their godly might gushed out without regard for their lives. They didn't believe that they couldn't defeat Su Yen. But reality was cruel. In this world where blur and destruction coexisted, when the 10,000 tribulations rushed towards Su Yen, all the peak-level experts who rushed into this area seemed to have weakened greatly. The powerful Tao power within their bodies disappeared without a trace. They were trembling and frightened. How could this be? Their cultivation seemed to have been weakened, and they seemed to have fallen into a unique space-time. In this world where the great Tao didn't exist, only the corporeal body reigned supreme. Not good, run. Someone suddenly thought of something, and his scalp felt like it was going to explode. This was the legendary initial fist. Once it erupted, the great Tao would retreat, and the corporeal body would contend for supremacy. This was the strongest divine ability in history. Once a powerhouse with a corporeal body grasped it, they could reverse their battle strength and kill a supreme being. But weren't all of these divine abilities lost? How did Su Yen learn them? Get over here and accept your death. Under the suppression of the starry sky, Su Yen roared towards the heavens. His pores spat out beams of blood essence. His corporeal body that was enough to cover the heavens was completely ignited. In contrast, Su Yen was like a great demonic god overlooking the heavens and earth. Boom! He was decisive and courageous. His initial fist immediately exploded. Who could withstand the might of his fist? Immediately, someone's corporeal body was shattered. Before he died, he saw the scene of the primordial chaos. It was a fist that burst out, revealing the primordial power of all things. It pierced through his head and shattered his body. The initial fist was Su Yan's greatest divine ability. When this divine ability was unleashed here, it evolved into a world-shaking slaughter. In this world where destruction and blur coexisted, bloody light overflowed into the sky. One after another, the corporeal bodies of the top experts were shattered. A bunch of trash. The scene projected by the space-time mirror caused the expressions of the experts entrenched in the outside world to change. Their eyes were about to pop out of their socket. How could such a ridiculous thing happen under such a powerful suppression? How did Su Yen launch a counterattack under such suppression? This is an unfathomable secret technique. Zhu Yuanqing's expression was uncertain. Even the space-time mirror couldn't capture it. This meant that Su Yen had mastered an invincible secret technique. Did he obtain it from God Burial Mountain? After all, Su Yan's fame was too great. If he had mastered some evil secret technique, it would have been known by all the races. But there was no such thing. Everyone knew that Su Yen had mastered an invincible secret technique, the Big Dipper Fist. But now, the power he displayed was too terrifying. It caused the bodies of the top experts to deform, and they died in pain and despair. Some people wanted to shout out and tell the world that Su Yen had mastered the strongest divine ability in history. But it was useless. Under Su Yan's divine might, they were all beaten into a bloody mist. He is a demon. We can't fight him. Only the young Supremes can take action. Some people were scared out of their wit. How long had it been since the battle began? Even the sun and moon rivers and mountains painting was brought out. But they still couldn't suppress Su Yen. On the contrary, dozens of top experts were killed. If this continued, would they still have a way out? They even thought that Su Yen would suffer heavy losses and fall into decline. But who knew that Su Yen would become more and more courageous as he fought? When they saw him swallow mouthfuls of chaotic treasure liquid, their faces turned green. No matter how rich they were, they couldn't compare to Madman Su, who had extorted a large sum of money from the Divine Firmament sect. Many top experts were terrified and didn't want to stay here. Su Yen didn't show any signs of decline. Instead, he became more courageous as he fought. If this continued, they would all die. Suppress him. Let me kill him. At the critical moment, a cold voice suddenly exploded. The shadow, who had been hiding in the darkness, suddenly attacked. He was like a ghost hiding in the darkness. The moment he fully awakened, the sky was split apart by a sword. Ah, my neck! Many onlookers cried out. Their necks were about to be cut off. It was like a butcher's knife was hanging over their necks. This made people turn pale with fright. What kind of powerful killing weapon was this? The sword embryo was so bright that it overflowed into the sky. The sword radiance was so intense that it caused abnormal phenomena to overflow into the sky. The sky seemed to have been replaced by the sword radiance. Sky-severing sword. Someone's legs went soft, causing the people in the surroundings to cry out in alarm. The legendary sky-severing sword had appeared. Regardless of whether it was the Sun-Moon-Mountain-River diagram or the sky-severing sword, they were all supreme treasures that could be said to be unrivaled in their generation. The sky-severing sword's name was already resounding enough. It was known as a peerless secret treasure that could even sever the sky. Su Yen, the ghost in the darkness, the genius of the previous generation of the Ancestral Hall, roared. He stared at Su Yen with a cruel expression. He waved the sky-severing sword in his hand and said coldly, "Your head is mine." Chi-Chi. This dazzling sword embryo released a sword radiance that was as vast as the sea. It was filled with the power to sever the heavens. The heads of all the experts were about to roll on the ground. It was difficult to imagine just how powerful its edge was. What a terrifying sword embryo! It is the sky-severing sword. Rumor has it that the sky-severing sword was at the level of a supreme expert's sacred weapon. It could sever the divine king's head like pulling weeds. In a very distant location, the experts who had followed the energy fluctuations here turned pale. They saw the sword radiance split open the sky and cause the stars in the sky to fall. This was like throwing dumplings into a pot. This sword had split open the starry sky. The great characters who occupied the outside world were all endlessly shocked. This was the sky-severing sword that contained the power to slaughter gods. It was a rare object that even the divine king's expression would change when talking about it. The experts from the Ancestral Hall sneered. The sky-severing sword was prepared for Su Yen. No matter how powerful his physical body and Tao were, he would still be struck by this sword. This was a situation where one would die upon contact. It was almost impossible to evade. Boom! The Sun-Moon-Mountain-River diagram also resonated. It coordinated with the sky-severing sword's power to kill Su Yen. Kill him quickly. Su Yen is definitely not going to make it. The peak experts who had originally lost their fighting spirit roared and swooped down at the same time. Even the sky-severing sword had been brought out. Could it be that there was still any suspense in this battle? Suppress. Kill. The Sun-Moon-Mountain-River diagram operated to the extreme. A sea of stars fell from the sky and covered Su Yen. It unleashed its most powerful suppressive force. The sky-severing sword was sharp to the extreme. This sword was about to tear apart tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. It even reflected the bloody scene of countless heads falling to the ground. This world is too crazy. The three supreme treasure embryos have been brought out. They are really taking Su Yen seriously. Everyone cried out in alarm. They saw a scarlet rope as thick as a true dragon arrive in an instant. It coiled around Su Yan's body like an evil dragon coiling around him. There was no way to evade as it bound Su Yan's body. In order to kill Su Yen, all the peak races have brought out their trump cards. The Sun-Moon-Mountain-River diagram, the sky-severing sword, the immortal binding rope. Many people trembled. Although they were all imitations, their power was known to be unrivaled in the same generation. It was indeed within the expectations of the great Net dynasty. If they were determined to kill Su Yan, they would definitely be able to do it if they were willing to pay a high enough price. Chapter 928. The Sea of Stars shook, and the sun and moon were destroyed. It was truly a sea of stars. The sun, moon, and stars rotated. This was a young expert from the Han family. He seemed to have summoned a sea of stars, descending from the heavens and pressing down on Su Yan. Kiki, Su Yan, your time of death has come. Under the heaven-cleaving sword, your body and soul are destined to be destroyed. The specter that emerged from the darkness sneered. The heaven-cleaving sword had already reached the pinnacle of brilliance. This sword's edge was peerless. Even from far away, all living beings felt as if their heads were about to fall to the ground. It was called the heaven-cleaving sword. From this, one could see just how strong this secret treasure was. It turned out that this formation was already savage enough. However, no one had expected that the Dark Nether clan would be able to produce a replica of the immortal binding rope. Although it was only a replica, it was a replica of a supreme treasure that was powerful enough to bind a true dragon of the same generation. 3 rare treasures, their brilliance overflowing the heavens. It could be said that 3 invincible kings had joined forces and were wildly chopping down on Su Yan. Kill! The vast territory trembled and collapsed. Dozens of peak experts used their strongest trump cards, wanting to decide the victor in one move. They didn't believe that Su Yan would be able to escape from such a powerful killing trap. Ha ha ha, good. Su Yan's time is up, his time is up. The experts of the various clans in the ancestral hall, who were entrenched in the outside world, raised their heads and laughed. Was there any suspense? As long as they could cut off Su Yan's head and suppress his primordial spirit, they would be able to interrogate him about all the secrets of God Burial Mountain. Although they had to pay a price and lose face, it was all worth it. This matter concerned a life and death situation. It was worth it for them to lose face and join forces. It's over. The experts of the Martial clan had gloomy expressions. They were all sighing. Who could break through such a powerful killing trap? At this moment, the immortal binding rope had already bound Su Yan's body. It was like a red dragon coiling around his body. The more fiercely Su Yan's body revolved, the more frightening the trap became. He really felt as if his body would be torn to pieces. Even the sea of stars fell from the sky, forming an apocalyptic killing formation. Of course, all of this was in coordination with the heaven-cleaving sword, directly cutting off Su Yan's head. Die. The dozens of top experts who were closing in were grinning hideously. They were like demons that had crawled out of hell. They were all looking at Su Yan with cruel and cold eyes. It was as if they could see the picture of his body riddled with holes. Boom. Everything became blurry. In this world filled with murderous aura, there were fluctuations that made people feel like their bodies were about to split apart. People even suspected that they could slaughter a true dragon. Within the world of destruction, a furious roar exploded. They couldn't see anything clearly, but they felt that this was the mournful roar of a generation's peak overlord before his death. They seemed to have seen the scene of a peak overlord withered away, destined to shock the world. One was a legend breaker, the other was Madman Su, who came down from God Burial Mountain. Could it be that he was really going to die here? Many people were still waiting for him to fight a glorious battle. Su Yan, how can you die? You must pull yourself together. We're still waiting for you to dominate the world and crush the kings of your generation. Many of his admirers roared angrily. Their eyes were red, feeling that it wasn't worth it for him. He should be fighting against a peak hero. Even if he really died in battle, he wouldn't feel unresigned. But if Su Yan were to walk towards the limits of his life just like this, who would be willing? The 3 supreme treasure embryos covered the sky. This scene also suppressed the myriad races under the heavens until they were suffocating and trembling. So what if one was powerful? Even someone as powerful as Madman Su was forced to join hands with the various peak races. They shamelessly brought out all kinds of great killing weapons in order to kill Su Yan. The great races within the ancestral hall were laughing loudly. Without a doubt, if they won this battle, their prestige would also increase. They didn't care about the world's evaluation of them, because in the boundless universe, only these races were eternally powerful. They had always stood at the peak without falling. Some disgraceful history, this didn't count for much. The 10th passageway was excessively quiet. There were too many spectators, too many to count. Apart from a few people who were laughing complacently, many people chose to remain silent. Su Yan's end seemed to be telling these geniuses not to go too far. The greatest opportunity in these primal chaos ruins belonged to the peak races. Oh! That terrifying roar sounded once more. It was like a blood-stained overlord roaring through the primal chaos, wishing to slaughter his way through the great gate of life. No one knew what was happening inside. The radiance was too resplendent. Dozens of peak experts, in addition to the 3 supreme treasure embryos, worked together to create this dazzling radiance. No one could see the bloody events that were happening inside. Only those dozens of peak experts were actually trembling. This was completely different from the outside world's imagination. They had brought out 3 supreme treasure embryos and dozens of peak experts to fight with everything they had. Just how crazy was this? However, they did not expect that Su Yan was even crazier and scarier than them. When he pushed his own fighting strength to the peak, these people finally realized what it meant to be strong, what it meant to be invincible, and what it meant to be supreme among the same generation. Ho! 3 consecutive roars made Su Yan's battle blood burn and boil. A terrifying vision appeared behind him. A turbulent sea of primal chaos emerged, capable of splitting the heavens and 10 earths. The sea of stars that filled the sky trembled and came to a halt. The immortal binding rope was unparalleled in its power to bind Su Yan's precious body. But when his physical body was released, it was as if the immortal Tao's furnace of primal chaos was burning. The condensed primal chaos revealed an extremely heavy power. No matter how powerful a supreme treasure was, how could it compare to the primal chaos origin chi? Su Yan's body was extremely heavy. His precious body glowed, and great Tao runes gushed out. Sometimes they turned into a great halberd, sometimes a cauldron, sometimes a Tao bell, sometimes a sword embryo. His aura was ever-changing, and his physical body was terrifying to the extreme. The immortal binding rope was twisting and was about to be torn apart by Su Yan's terrifying physical body. What kind of peerless divine power was this? It made the top experts of the dark underworld race tremble. This was the immortal binding rope, but Su Yan wanted to tear it apart with his super-strong physical body. It was like a true dragon binding Su Yan, but it was crushed by the peerless power released by Su Yan's precious body. Of course, all of this wasn't enough for Su Yan to break out of the situation. Kill! With a final roar, Su Yan's body exuded a terrifying and boundless spiritual will. It was as if an endless sea of corpses had appeared in the eyes of the world. It was a bloody and ferocious aura, a spiritual will that had experienced countless killings and bloodshed. The combination of the primordial spirit and Su Yan's ferocious aura was enough to frighten the top experts and give them a splitting headache. A touch of fear rose in their hearts. Impossible! Then, they were terrified because they found that this world seemed to have disappeared. However, the world that replaced it was like a small universe, intertwined with the light of thousands of Taos. In the process of the beginning of all things, everything in the universe was revealed. Domain, the spirit holding the heaven-slashing sword, was terrified, and his scalp was about to explode. This was the energy of a domain that only the Divine King could cultivate. However, what really frightened him was that Su Yan's domain was too special. It was like a complete and flawless small universe. How could something so ridiculous happen? Could it be that he had mastered all the Daos in the world? When this ancient heavenly art erupted, Su Yan's combat power was at its peak. Su Yan was extremely domineering. With a loud roar, the sky collapsed, and the stars in the sky were about to fall. The blood in the body of the top experts from all walks of life was churned by his roar, and they were about to kneel on the ground and tremble. If the immortal binding rope didn't have to continue suppressing Su Yan, this roar was enough to destroy the enemies. He had reversed the vague domain power, and this was an earth-shattering technique that could seal the sky and the earth. Boom! Loud explosions rang out one after another, and dense bloody light sprinkled down. Su Yan was truly terrifying to the extreme. This was his peak combat power, capable of moving millions of mountains and grasping the geography of the earth. It was as if he was commanding the world here, and his terror overflowed the heavens. The sun, moon, and stars in the sky shifted positions. The young expert of the Han family who wielded the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. Half of his body had caved in, and he cried out in fear. He wanted to know what kind of monster his Han family had provoked. The elder generation of the ancestral hall crazily slashed out with the heaven-slashing sword, one after another, becoming more and more resplendent and incisive. Make your move quickly. These top experts roared in succession. This was their final chance. If they couldn't suppress Su Yan, then they would all die here. Their hopes were still pinned on the immortal binding rope. This thing really wasn't that easy to break free from. Even if Su Yan could reverse his combat power and reveal the terrifying power of his domain, it would still be extremely difficult to tear apart the immortal binding rope. Although Su Yan had grasped the principles of the immortal binding rope's construction, this supreme treasure's Tao arts were too profound. Is it about to end? Outside, the experts all saw this. The sky was filled with blood. The top experts of various races joined forces to stimulate the energy source to resonate, and their divine power became even more shocking. The heaven-slashing sword was burning to the limit. Tens of millions of heaven-slashing sword beams rolled down. I can see the endless sword beams slashing down on Su Yan's body. Many people's voices were trembling. This was a real scene. That's right, Su Yan didn't dodge at all. He allowed these sword beams to slash down on his body. This was the power of the heaven-slashing sword, and each sword beam contained sword energy capable of exterminating all life. At this critical juncture, Su Yan moved around in this desperate situation, using the power of his domain to forcefully interfere with the sword beams. He frantically dodged. His speed was extremely frightening. This trip to God Burial Mountain had truly raised Su Yan's combat power to a new level. Clang! Clang! However, even more sword beams slashed down on the immortal binding rope. Small cracks began to appear on the rope. He's going to break the seal. The top expert of the Dark Nether race who was controlling the immortal binding rope screamed. He had completely lost control of the immortal binding rope. His words caused the young experts of various races to change their expressions greatly. Then, a terrifying murderous aura instantly covered the entire area. Open for me! Su Yan roared angrily. His blood essence filled the sky and directly caused the immortal binding rope to explode. At this moment, Su Yan was bathed in blood. His blood-stained hair danced in the wind. He was like a great demon god who had swept through the world. Every move he made released a terrifying pressure. Kill! He roared and rushed into the crowd, wanting to kill everyone. Pooh! Groups of top experts were sent flying. They were simply unable to withstand the crazy Su Yan. Just the unparalleled power alone had already caused them to feel dizzy and their eyes to blur as they vomited blood. On the 30th, I wish everyone a Happy New Year. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 929. Is the victor going to be decided? The 3 supreme treasure embryos are surrounding Su Yan. I'm afraid Su Yan won't be able to hold on for much longer. The spectators were all breathing heavily, their eyes fixed on the scene. The place where the energy storm converged really covered tens of thousands of li. Violent waves overflowed into the sky, the momentum endless. Thick blood dyed the direction of the source red. Their hearts all trembled. It seemed like the victor had already been decided. Was Su Yan going to be suppressed? Or would some miracle really happen, reversing the battle situation? Like before, he would use his domineering methods to crush everything. Everyone waited patiently. Some of the old antiques sighed. They didn't expect Su Yan's victory or defeat would actually draw so much attention. Today, Su Yan was truly the center of attention. Invincible! In that instant of brilliance, many people roared uncontrollably. They only felt a surge of hot blood roaring uncontrollably. At this moment, their emotions were surging. They faced the scene of the source and roared, "The invincible madman Su is still invincible. What hundreds of peak experts! What 3 supreme treasure embryos! He can crush them with a single punch, slaughter everyone present." The entire 10th passageway seemed to have sunk into a deathly silence. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even the experts of various races who were entrenched outside opened their eyes wide in shock, watching all of this with disbelief. They found it hard to believe. What kind of scene was this? The peak experts of various races were all sent flying. Their bodies trembled, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. They even let out miserable cries as they were sent flying far away. It was as if a magnificent army had been blasted away. The scene of the source was terrifying. A figure rose from the ground, roaring towards the sky. His blood-stained flesh blazed, shocking the world. How could this be? How could this be? This is impossible. Could it be that Su Yan has already stepped into the peak of the heavenly deity realm? The experts of various races in the ancestral hall roared in anger. The result was too different from what they imagined. They couldn't suppress Su Yan at all, and Su Yan even counterattacked at the limit, releasing his most ferocious combat strength, shattering the enemy's spirit and fighting spirit. This scene made them tremble. Their hair stood on end, goosebumps rising all over their bodies. The 3 supreme treasure embryos had joined hands, yet they still couldn't suppress Su Yan. Was it because their clansmen were too weak, or was it because the enemy they were facing was unprecedented, a hero that shocked the past and dazzling the present? Some people looked at the godly kings of these clans. They began to doubt their lives and didn't dare to believe what they were seeing. Su Yan, he's destined to be different. Someone sighed and said, "A peak overlord is standing at the peak just like that, not weaker than any of the North Yao and the others." Some people wanted to say something, but in the end, they didn't. Some people felt that Su Yan might be even more terrifying than the Northern Demon and the others. Only existences like Zhu Tian and the children of the Forbidden Zone could fight against him. But it was too early to say anything now. Perhaps to Su Yan, his rise was only the beginning. After all, he was still some distance away from becoming the Divine King. He still had a long way to go to dominate the world. But his potential was enough for the various races to treat him seriously. This was a potential seed whose prestige wasn't inferior to the Divine King's. He was already standing in this domain. They couldn't look at him with the same eyes as before. How could this be? The old genius of the ancestral hall looked at Su Yan with trembling eyes. The heaven-cleaving sword was sharp to the extreme. Even the Divine King would be injured if struck. However, he felt that Su Yan's body was completely unharmed, as if he had not suffered any serious injuries. This gave the old genius of the ancestral hall a headache. Not only was Su Yan not injured, he had even managed to destroy the immortal binding rope. The immortal binding rope's strength lay in its unique strength. It could bind a person's body. The sky-chopping sword was exceptionally sharp. After all, it was extremely difficult for the immortal binding rope to trap Su Yan. In the end, at the moment when cracks appeared on the sky-chopping sword, Su Yen used his own terrifying strength to forcefully break the immortal binding rope. In the next moment, he felt a headache because Su Yan's eyes were staring at him. They were cruel and cold, causing great fear to rise in his heart. He turned around and fled. But no matter how fast he couldn't escape Su Yan's lock. No matter how he ran, he remained in his original position. Su Yen walked step by step towards the old genius of the ancestral hall. Great success in shrinking Earth to inches. How did you cultivate it? This is a peak great Tao profundity that only the Divine King can touch upon. The old genius of the ancestral hall was increasingly terrified. He felt that it was very likely that he had disturbed Su Yen. Moreover, the strength of Su Yan's primordial spirit was even stronger than that of a peak heavenly god expert. Is there a need for a dead person to know so much? Su Yen arrived in front of him and sneered, "Thank you for delivering me a treasure. This thing is not bad. I really need a great killing weapon right now." Bastard, the old genius of the ancestral hall roared in grief and indignation. He was about to step into the Divine King's domain. If it weren't for the fact that he wanted to kill Su Yen, he would still be in seclusion in his family, trying to break through to the Divine King realm. A future Divine King was now incomparably ashamed and angry. But facing Su Yen, he couldn't summon the courage to fight him, even if he wielded a peerless weapon like the heaven-cleaving sword. Bam! Su Yen raised his foot and kicked forward. The old genius of the ancestral hall was inconsolable. He wanted to swing the heaven-cleaving sword to cut down, but he was powerless. This was a sign of despair. He had already accepted his fate. If he couldn't kill Su Yen before, he couldn't kill him now either. Crack! This stomp crushed his chest, infuriating the Divine King of the ancestral hall. A future Divine King and a peerless divine weapon like the heaven-cleaving sword had been sacrificed just like that. No matter how powerful their ancestral hall's foundation was, there were very few embryos of supreme treasures like the Sky Splitter sword. It was extremely difficult to find materials to refine the embryos of supreme treasures. Now it had helped Su Yen. Rip! Su Yen directly snatched the Sky Splitter sword and slashed forward, cutting off the head of the old genius from the ancestral hall. A strange light flashed in his eyes. The heaven-cleaving sword was truly incomparably powerful. Its attack power was peerless. With a gentle wave, it could cut through the void. Just how powerful was this power? What kind of precious treasure was refined into this sword? The aura of the heavenly refining furnace? Then, Su Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. He caught the fluctuations of the heavenly refining furnace from the heaven-cleaving sword. Finally, he understood that this weapon was refined from the heavenly refining furnace. Using a supreme treasure to refine a weapon was too frightening. No wonder the heaven-cleaving sword's reputation was so great. Of course, what Su Yen truly valued was the Han family's sun-moon rivers and mountains painting. This was the main show. The heaven-cleaving sword was absolutely incomparable to the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting. This treasure was extremely important to the occult gate. If it was refined, its power would definitely soar. Clang! Su Yan's fingertip flicked the sword's body. The heaven-cleaving sword trembled and emitted a sharp and ear-piercing sound that reverberated in the field. It was like a demonic sound that came from hell, causing the peak experts from various races to tremble. The formation was broken and the heaven-cleaving sword fell into Su Yan's hands. They were terrified and didn't dare to stay any longer. They crawled up and ran as far as they could. They didn't want to provoke this madman anymore. The situation had become one-sided. The three supreme treasure embryos couldn't suppress Su Yen, let alone these peak experts who had lost their will to fight. At this moment, they only wanted to run for their lives. Since you've come, don't leave. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a bone-chilling killing intent. The sword embryo in his hand began to emit light. The heaven-cleaving sword was awakening. It possessed a peerless sharpness as it cut through the sky. The terrifying black crack penetrated through the vast territory and was filled with an aura that could slash apart gods and devils. No! A peak expert who had fled 10,000 li was terrified. He didn't even see what was attacking him before he saw his head leave his body. This was just too sharp and tyrannical. Wielding this great killing weapon made Su Yan raise his head towards the sky and laugh heartily. He attacked all the peak experts in the disorderly mountains and rivers. The heaven-cleaving sword was also brandished by him. Tens of thousands of sword radiances gushed out. This territory directly formed a terrifying Great Rift Valley. Terrifying abnormal phenomena were born. This sword disturbed the mountains and rivers within 100,000 li. The sword radiance hacked down on the land, destroying heaven and earth. After a short period of light, blood dyed the shattered sky red. Heads flew through the air one after another, and all the experts who were struck trembled in despair. This is the real heaven-cleaving sword. This supreme treasure can only be displayed by an outstanding talent like Su Yan. It's like a pearl covered in dust in the hands of others. Many people were trembling. This sex sword embryo was too fierce. It targeted all the peak experts and made it impossible for them to evade. Once they were struck, their heads would immediately fall to the ground. The heaven-cleaving sword's power is actually so strong. Su Yan is truly like a tiger that has grown wings. The ancestral hall also suffered a great loss. The heaven-cleaving sword was seized by Su Yan. It's the same as giving Su Yan a great killing weapon. It's really losing both the wife and the soldiers. Although they knew that Su Yan had a big iron staff, the sharpness of the big iron staff was inevitably inferior to the heaven-cleaving sword. Now that Su Yan wielded the heaven-cleaving sword, there was nothing it couldn't destroy. He killed until a river of blood flowed. One after another, famous peak experts were also killed by Su Yan as if he was pulling weed. He killed one in 10 steps. Who could escape from this place? No one could escape from this destructive field. Su Yan swept through all 8 desolations and 10 earths. He used iron-blooded methods to kill all the peak experts who were fleeing in panic. In the end, he chased down a young expert from the Han family. Su Yan, you demon! Sooner or later, you will pay with your life. This person was trembling with fear. He pointed at Su Yan with a trembling finger. Too many people had died. Those who came were the elites of the elite. However, Su Yan had destroyed the entire scene. He used the heaven-cleaving sword to harvest people's lives here. He was like a demon king overlooking the world. He was filled with a bloodthirsty and domineering aura. Su Yan would never show mercy to his enemies. He coldly stared at him and said, "If you want to leave, then so be it. You even took away my treasure. I had no choice but to chase you for 100,000 miles to kill you. I hate you." He miserably howled. He wanted to smash the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting into pieces. Unfortunately, his head had already left his body. This sword embryo was trembling on its own. It wasn't stained with blood and emitted a heaven-cleaving power. It was truly powerful to the extreme. Everyone present was suffocating. The bloody light that filled the sky had yet to disperse. The vault of heaven was dark red and rippled with peerless, killing intent. In this chaotic world, there was only one person standing between heaven and earth, overlooking all heroes. Chapter 930. The bloody world was too quiet. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on Su Yan's body, illuminating him like a blood-colored god of war. He stood between heaven and earth, appearing supreme. The onlookers were suffocating, finding it difficult to look at Su Yan. From the start of the battle until now, a short half a day had passed. Hundreds of top experts had been killed by Su Yan, and hundreds of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers had been reduced to ruins. They found it hard to believe that this was done by Madman Su, who had only risen up a few decades ago. Su Yan is fully deserving of the title of God of War. Many people were terrified from the bottom of their hearts, feeling that he was ridiculously strong. After all, for a declining clan to reach this step without strong support was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The scene in the space-time mirror caused the outside world to be in chaos. Some people were silent, some were discussing, and some had ugly expressions. In short, Su Yan's combat strength had completely shocked them. Without a doubt, Su Yan was stronger than before. Then, what kind of opportunity did he obtain on God Burial Mountain? Why did Su Yan's combat strength undergo such a shocking transformation? Even if he could use such a domineering method to break open the situation, it was enough to show how strong Su Yan was now. Originally, the various clans thought that Su Yan's combat strength would decline after cultivating to the heavenly god domain. The result was completely different from what they had imagined. Su Yan was stronger than before. What kind of origin energy did he fuse with? This matter was something that the experts of various clans wanted to find out. Of course, if they knew that the current Su Yan was still in the 8th heaven of the divine spirit realm, who knew what they would think? Of course, the reason was that Su Yan's physical body was tyrannical enough. In the future, when he stepped into the heavenly god domain, his physical body would not improve too much. After all, even the strongest person had a limit. Tell Zhu Tian to return. He must kill Su Yan and cut off his path. Inform the North Demon that Su Yan has already left God Burial Mountain. If we don't kill him, where will the demon region's dignity be? If I don't kill this person, I won't be at ease. The two peak clans were enraged. They had put aside their pride and brought out 3 embryos of supreme treasures. Even the Han family had created a huge formation. Yet, they still couldn't kill Su Yan. On the contrary, he had also obtained 2 embryos of supreme treasures. The contrast was too great. The cruel reality was hard for them to accept. They wouldn't be satisfied if they didn't kill Su Yan. They were even worried that he would become the divine king in the future, which would make it even harder to kill him. Su Yan's potential is incredible. He's a descendant of the Buried Realm clan. His bloodline power is extraordinary. The experts of the Dark Nether race conversed with each other in a gloomy tone. These days, the Dark Nether race rarely made any big moves and kept a low profile. The world didn't even know who the strongest leader of the Dark Nether race was, nor did they know who the Starfield Supremacy was. Don't worry about him. Let him be. An ancestor of the Dark Nether race said coldly. The young masters of our race don't have the time to care about Su Yan. Even if Su Yan can jump around, he's destined to be a foil in the upcoming era. Even if he has the supreme physique, he's destined to be a lowly person in the future. The greater the talent, the more tragic it is. They were talking about an extremely important matter. They couldn't calm down. The Dark Nether race also had peerless talent. They didn't care about Su Yan or how strong he was. They knew that even if Su Yan could be heaven-defying in the future, he would still be a tragedy in the upcoming era. That's right. The young masters of our race don't have the time to care about him. Let him jump around first. A grand elder of the Dark Nether race sneered. However, the Ancestral Hall hasn't given up on Su Yan. Without the Vice Sect Master's order, the Ancestral Hall wouldn't have spent so much effort on Su Yan. What is the Ancestral Hall doing? At this point, the faces of all the important figures of the Dark Nether race changed. With the Ancestral Hall's current status and Zhu Tian's potential, there was no need to waste so much time on Su Yan. But why did the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor want to capture Su Yan alive? Could it be their expressions changed and they didn't dare to say anything? If it was really related to those people, then the things Su Yan was involved in were too terrifying. This wasn't something they could speculate about. I feel that we can take action and suppress Su Yan. We can dig out what secrets he is hiding. Who knows, it might be of help to our clan. Someone spoke. His entire body was filled with dense energy, as if he was a corpse sleeping in the depths of hell. No. A being with dried-up hair frowned and said, "This is a serious matter. Our race doesn't need to interfere and provoke the ancestral hall." They spoke casually as if suppressing Su Yen was just a matter of words. After all, they did have a certain amount of power in the Chaos Ruins. They could seal off all areas and cut off Su Yan's path. Moreover, we can't contact our race's young lord at all. Someone else spoke. This made the group of Dark Nether race leaders solemnly talk about their race's young lord. If they were talking about their master, the Divine King, it was like a group of slaves working for him. This was a little scary. How could a young man have such great magic power? Let him be. In the end, they all laughed. When the fruit is ripe, I think our young lord will cut the grass. Cut the grass. If Su Yan's prestige was terrifying enough, they could really cut him down and obtain endless power. They could even increase Su Yan's current status. The Dark Nether race didn't care, but the races of the Ancestral Hall cared too much. They had lost too much face. They didn't expect Su Yan to use such a method to break the situation. They were furious. They must let their young lord kill his way back and cut off Su Yan's path to invincibility. The people of the Divine Firmament sect didn't say anything. They had some doubts about their race's King Flash. King Flash had been recuperating for a long time. It had been almost a year. Although there was improvement, it was different from what they had expected. During this time, King Flash had been in the Divine Firmament sect and didn't come out. He also didn't mention going to the Chaos Ruins. Was he afraid, or was he continuing to consolidate and accumulate power? In any case, the experts of the Divine Firmament sect couldn't say anything about King Flash. They could only wait for him to stand up again. Something's not right. Zhu Yuanqing's face darkened. He saw Su Yan, who was originally full of momentum, stagger. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Su Yan's aura, which was originally strong and unflagging, suddenly weakened by a lot. His face was pale, and blood began to spurt out of his body. Su Yan instantly became a bloody man. He looked very miserable. What's going on? Su Yan is seriously injured? The people around were shocked. What's going on? Why did Su Yan's injuries suddenly become so serious? There was no problem at all before. Now, Su Yan was paralyzed on the ground. It seemed like it was extremely difficult for him to stand up. He panted heavily and absorbed the essence of heaven and earth in silence. Su Yan is seriously injured. His divine power seems to have dried up. Someone's eyes flashed with a strange light as he stared at Su Yan. He was somewhat tempted. That was because the sky-cleaving sword and the sun, moon, river, and mountain painting were placed in front of Su Yan. If they could snatch these two supreme treasure embryos and sell them at an auction, they would definitely fetch an unimaginable price. Now that Su Yan was seriously injured and the two supreme treasure embryos were in front of him, many people were tempted. They could choose not to provoke Su Yan, but couldn't they take these two things away? Don't forget the lesson from before. Someone suddenly said. It was like a bucket of cold water poured over their heads, waking them up. Some people even slapped themselves in the face. What were they thinking? They wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth from a demon king who had just killed over 100 peak experts of various races. Snatch the two supreme treasure embryos? Some people even thought back to when Su Yan fought the North Yao in the Primal Chaos Channel. He pretended to be seriously injured, but in the end, he was completely fine. He even crawled up and slaughtered a large group of people. That event was still fresh in many people's minds. Even if Su Yan really was struggling on the verge of death, the surrounding onlookers were so intimidated that they didn't dare approach him. What kind of vicious might was this? It left the older generation experts speechless. He was already injured to this extent, but no one dared to target Su Yan. This was just too ridiculously powerful. He possessed a supreme vicious might. He really is seriously injured. Some sharp-eyed alchemists muttered in their hearts as they passed by. However, they didn't dare utter a word. They didn't dare mention Su Yan's situation. Even if they did, they feared that no one would dare to provoke Su Yan. Even if Su Yan was seriously injured, didn't he have any other methods to deal with it? Although Su Yan's body only had a few wounds, many of his skin had been cut open. It was just that Su Yan had sealed the cut skin. Su Yan had really suffered a serious injury this time. The damage caused by the light immortal binding rope was terrifying. When it had bound Su Yan's body, it had created a destructive pressure within his body. Of course, the heaven-cleaving sword had left behind the most serious injuries on Su Yan's body. He had used the heaven-cleaving sword to chop at the immortal binding rope, but there were also many sword lights that he couldn't avoid. These sword lights were forcefully suppressed by Su Yan's body. Now it was extremely difficult for him to control them. He felt as if his entire body was about to explode. "You guys are very good. You actually injured me to this extent." Su Yan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were cold. He had almost suffered a calamity. Fortunately, Su Yan was strong enough. Otherwise, his life would have been threatened. His internal injuries were extremely serious. Fortunately, God Burial Mountain had tempered his body to the point that it was indestructible. Otherwise, Su Yan's body would have really fallen apart. This battle also made Su Yan vigilant. There were always some terrifying items and supreme treasures in this world. If they went crazy and brought out 10 different supreme treasure embryos, would he be able to endure it? There was no need to doubt the foundation of a peak clan. No matter how strong a person was, when faced with some evil supreme treasures, they would most likely die with a grievance. "My injuries are too serious. The heaven-cleaving sword is really fierce. Fortunately, I took it away. What a pity that the immortal binding rope was blown to pieces. However, the sun, moon, rivers, and mountains painting and the heaven-cleaving sword were 2 supreme treasure embryos. This injury was worth it." Ah! Su Yan was still laughing. His injuries were serious, but it wasn't to the point where Su Yan was on his deathbed. He directly swallowed a few hundred drops of chaos treasure liquid to heal his injuries. He didn't lack resources. His injuries could be healed with the chaos treasure liquid. At the same time, Su Yan crawled up with lightning speed. He didn't want to waste any more time. He had to make a move as soon as possible. His eyes were fixed on the 10th Chaos Divine Mountain. Since Zhu Tian hadn't arrived, it meant that they had already left the Chaos Passageway. "If I don't beat you guys up, you won't know my surname, Su Yan. Today, I will let you guys remember this day for all eternity." Su Yan's eyes revealed a ferocious glint. He was prepared to go all out and attack the Chaos Divine Mountains one by one. He was going to intercept the harvest on the Chaos Divine Mountains. 9 Heavens Divine Sovereign. Chapter 931. He really was faking it. He wasn't injured at all. But Su Yan is already such a character. He's too cunning. Someone was speechless. What the hell does this have to do with cunning? Who knows, he might be able to lure out some enemies and kill them all. I have to say, Su Yan is truly tyrannical. Even the 3 supreme treasure embryos couldn't injure him. Now he can actually crawl up and fight again. This place immediately erupted. The cultivators who had evil thoughts all felt their hair stand on end. This demon king wasn't someone they could deal with. This was because only those invincible kings of the same generation could keep Su Yan in check. Some people were suspicious. Su Yan's injuries were clearly very serious. They muttered in their hearts, perhaps Su Yan is really worried that someone won't be able to control themselves and will try to kill him. That's why he forcefully suppressed his injuries and crawled up to escape. Your guess is correct. I think Su Yan is also worried that the North Demon and the others will suddenly come back. After all, with Su Yan's current situation, he can't take too much trouble. Fortunately, there aren't any experts from their races here. Otherwise, they would have seen Su Yan's injuries. At that time, it would definitely be another fierce battle. Some old experts were discussing and discussing. They didn't leak out Su Yan's situation. Leaking it out wouldn't benefit them. Moreover, they didn't want Su Yan to fall. They hoped that he could stand up and really change the situation of the peak races in the primal chaos ruins. Su Yan's existence is enough to intimidate some races. I hope it will still be like this in the future. In some small circles, some old antiques were excitedly discussing. Su Yan's current prestige is truly terrifying. According to our race's history, Su Yan washed the 10 great primal chaos passages with blood. At the same time, he attracted the experts from the ancestral hall to chase after him. This has greatly reduced the pressure on our younger generation. The resources we obtained are much more than before. That's right. My race has also done some statistics. I really didn't expect that Su Yan's appearance would cause such a terrifying effect. In fact, his existence has already reversed some of the general trends of the universe. For a young man to affect the harvest of our race, that is enough to defy the heavens. Su Yan is a terrifying deterrent. If he were to say that he wasn't at God-burying mountain these past 2 years and was instead in the 10 chaos channels, our races would have benefited even more. That makes sense. I wonder if, in the future, when we compete for the universe's secret region in the chaos ruins, the peak races will have their eyes on Su Yan. Will that be able to reduce the pressure on our races and benefit from it? The leaders of these small circles were the rulers of powerful races in the universe. As they conversed and discussed, their hearts were filled with shock. It had to be said that Su Yan's influence was too great. If Su Yan were to attack the primal chaos divine mountain, his gains would be even greater. Someone said with hatred, 4 generations, it was the peak races that dominated the chaos godly mountain. No matter how strong our races are, we are no match for the peak races. I'm afraid that's impossible. The chaos godly mountain's fortunes haven't been exhausted. These are the lifeblood of the peak races. If Su Yan were to touch this fat piece of meat, he would be hunted down endlessly. These people talked about the world. As for their statistics, the peak races didn't care too much. They didn't lack these resources. The only thing they cared about was the fortunes of places like the Chaos Godly Mountain, and even the gains from the universe's secret regions in the future. What they lacked were the wonders of the world. For example, the Tao tree that had surfaced now. According to the information from the Chaos ruins, it was said that it was in a killing frenzy. Too many young overlords had come, and they were killing each other for the Tao tree. However, some people had seen some clues, and very few people wanted to kill it. After all, every young overlord represented an ancient sect. Each of them represented an ancient orthodoxy. If he really cut off their hopes, these pinnacle heroes would most likely not be able to get away scot-free either. In short, the struggle for the Tao tree was still ongoing. No one knew who would get it in the end. If someone were to speak up, they reckoned that no one would get it. In the end, someone would definitely stand out to mediate. Similar incidents had happened many times before. In this universe's secret realm where killing intent swept across the sky, the earth shook and the mountains shook. This day wasn't calm at all. Terrifying demonic aura permeated 100,000 li. A Qilin appeared behind the northern demon, and its roar shook the sun, moon, and stars. Its aura reached the peak in a short period of time, and a doomsday heavenly eye was about to open. The peak overlord has gone mad. Is he determined to get it? Many heavenly deities were shocked. Their bodies trembled, and they were about to be torn apart by the aura gushing out from the northern demon's body. They were truly frightened. The northern demon's potential was truly terrifying. He had fused with the Qilin's origin energy. Another vast and boundless aura awakened, shaking the heavens and the earth. The mysterious Zhu Tian suddenly soared into the sky. As if he was bathing in the power of the 9 heavens, his body uncontrollably released strands of terrifying heavenly might. Zhu Tian was mysterious and powerful. His foundation was unfathomable. No one knew how strong the Daozu Tian was. Now, under his rage, the heavens and earth shook. As his aura leaked out, it was as if 10,000 worlds were born in the firmament. It suppressed everyone, causing them to tremble. There were also people who were shocked. Could it be that a struggle for supremacy was about to erupt? However, beyond everyone's expectations, the Northern Demon and Zhu Tian left the universe's secret realm at the same time. This caused the experts who were fighting for the great Dao tree to be shocked. What was going on? Why did they suddenly leave? Actually, when Su Yen returned from the God Burial Mountain, there were already people who went to inform them. Who wouldn't be jealous of the opportunities in the God Burial Mountain? The Supremes were no exception. Now, they were rushing back to fight for the opportunities. Later on, there were also people who received the news. They were instantly shocked. Someone had broken through the danger zone and seemed to have obtained a heaven-defying opportunity. Damn it, why didn't you report the news earlier? What are you all doing? Zhu Tian and the Northern Demon have already been gone for half a day. If we go now, I'm afraid it's too late. That might not be the case. Su Yen is very strong. Even the sagely battle god couldn't do anything to him. Their subordinates reminded softly. Bullshit, if it wasn't for the situation in the God Burial Mountain, how could Brother Xingtian be defeated? An overlord of the same generation said coldly. His name was Wang Jie, and he was also a peerless genius from the Dao Palace. The power behind him wasn't small either. Brother Wang Jie is right. What kind of expert is the sagely battle god? How could he be suppressed by Su Yen? Someone at the side agreed. Humph. The man called Wang Jie sneered. What right does a rising star from the ruins have to stand on the same level as us? Every generation has been controlled by us. What does it have to do with a trash race? This sentence of his offended many people. However, the young overlords with weaker backgrounds didn't dare to say anything. In fact, what they said was the cruel truth. The pinnacle races were like emperors who controlled the world. The Northern Demon and the rest were like princes. In the past, it was these people who obtained the greatest opportunities and opportunities. Wang Jie would even exclude others. I've heard about the sagely battle god. Another person stood out. He wore a golden robe and had a noble aura. He said sarcastically, "Who is the ruler of the primal chaos ruins? Is there a need to say it? If Su Yen dares to show his face here and act so insolently, kill him immediately. There's no need to talk nonsense." Ha ha, Zhu Yongjia, you're right. Kill him yourself. Why waste your breath on him? Isn't he just a rising star from a trash race? What's there to care about? Wang Jie laughed loudly. His words were like a large bell, shaking the souls of the surrounding people. Many people were shocked. His powerful divine spirit energy was close to the divine king's domain. Some young experts with weaker backgrounds sighed in their hearts. Regardless of whether it was Wang Jie or Zhu Yongjia, they were both young overlords with reputations. This Wang Jie was said to be the personal disciple of an old antique from the Dao Palace. Zhu Yongjia was the descendant of Zhu Yuanqing from the Sky Bamboo lineage. His background was extremely noble, and he could easily become relatives with almighty experts. In an era where almighty experts looked down on the world, those who could become relatives with almighty experts, if they weren't princes, who could they be? The primal chaos ruins was naturally an environment where the strong preyed on the weak. Although the suppression within the primal chaos ruins had dispersed and the era of the younger generation had arrived, there were times when one couldn't disrespect the strong. However, as this matter concerned God Burial Mountain, many young kings left. This was an opportunity in a danger zone. Who didn't want to go and take a look? They also wanted to go and fight for it. Within the vast primal chaos ruins, there was a storm. Because of a person who had returned from God Burial Mountain, it began to release a torrential undercurrent. It was about to completely surface. Big news. Experts are constantly turning around in the Primal Chaos ruins and heading towards the Primal Chaos channel. News constantly came from all over the Primal Chaos ruins. This was because young overlords with overflowing prestige were constantly returning. A storm even more ferocious than the Dao Tree struggle was about to brew. As for the bloody incident that occurred at the 10th Primal Chaos channel, news had yet to spread. From the beginning of the incident until now, only 2 days had passed. During these 2 days, Su Yen had already approached the 10th Primal Chaos channel. Although he had hurried for 2 days, Su Yan's injuries had mostly healed. The greatest price he had paid was that he had used over 300 drops of Primal Chaos liquid. Although I have a huge amount of wealth, the Primal Chaos liquid isn't endless. I really have to use it sparingly in the future. Su Yen muttered in his heart. His eyes were fixed on the 10th Primal Chaos Divine Mountain. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He hoped that this mountain would allow him to return with a bountiful harvest. This Primal Chaos Divine Mountain had been occupied by the Ancestral Hall from the beginning until now. On the mountain, although a large number of young seeds from the Ancestral Hall had rushed into the Primal Chaos ruins, there were still many experts guarding the mountain. Some were even excavating some resources and treasures. After such a long time, there were still some resources that hadn't been completely excavated. It was hard to imagine how much wealth the mountain had produced. I think Lord Zhu Tian will be back soon. I really hope he comes quickly. Su Yen shouldn't have left the Primal Chaos channel yet. If he wants to leave the channel, he has to pass through the Primal Chaos Divine Mountain. Pay close attention to the surroundings. Su Yen is definitely still in the 10th Primal Chaos channel. We can't let him escape. On the Primal Chaos Divine Mountain, a group of experts from the Ancestral Hall had gathered. At the same time, they urged some servants to quickly excavate the resources so that they could transport them back to the Ancestral Hall. "Do you guys think Su Yen will climb the mountain?" someone suddenly asked. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. The scene was a little strange. Su Yen wanted to barge into the 10th Primal Chaos Divine Mountain? This was something that they had not expected. Many of them suddenly felt a little panicked. If Su Yen really came, would they be able to withstand it? "He dares." An extremely old man sneered. "If he comes, I will let him die without a burial ground. This Primal Chaos Divine Mountain is our Ancestral Hall's resource mystic realm. There are killing arrays arranged in it. Once we attack, we will definitely be able to suppress Su Yen." This old man was very confident. This killing array could draw on a portion of the Primal Chaos Divine Mountain's power. It was extremely difficult to attack. However, just as he finished speaking, his heart was filled with fear. All the hair on his body stood on end. "Who?" he roared with a trembling voice. At the same time, he saw a shadow standing at the foot of the 10th Primal Chaos Divine Mountain. When he saw this person's face clearly, the old man's face changed drastically. Su Yen actually dared to come. Su Yen carried the sky-cleaving sword on his back and the sun-moon rivers and mountains painting in his hand. He had already started to climb the mountain. Chapter 932. The 10th Chaotic Divine Mountain had gathered a group of experts from the Ancestral Hall. There was also a chief elder overseeing this resource secret realm. Although more than half of the secret realm's resources had been extracted, the remaining resources were still exceptionally valuable. But today, killing intent pervaded the entire mountain, causing everyone from the Ancestral Hall to feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They were all astonished when they saw the source of the killing intent. That figure was climbing the mountain with large strides, causing an uproar. "It's Su Yen." Everyone was terrified. They never imagined that Su Yen, who had just experienced a bloody battle, would barge into the 10th Chaotic Channel. What was he trying to do? Could it be that he was going to attack the 10th Chaotic Divine Mountain? This made them all panic and their hair stood on end. How could Madman Su, who had killed over 100 experts, calm them down. All of them felt a headache coming on. They wanted to tell him to leave quickly, because Zhu Tian was coming. What are you panicking for? The chief elder from the ancestral hall stood up and rebuked with a sullen face, a bunch of ignorant fools. Isn't it just one Su Yen? Can this little vial spawn overturn the heavens? Release the array immediately and force him down the mountain. Tell him clearly to wait for our clan's Zhu Tian to come. Without a doubt, this elder had great prestige and instantly became their backbone. Many of the ancestral hall's experts stared at Su Yen with sinister eyes and roared, "Release the array and force Su Yen back. Our clan's resource secret realm isn't something he can barge into." Boom! In an instant, rays of light interweaved on the peak of the 10th chaotic divine mountain. They were resplendent and blazing, sprinkling down bursts of radiance. This was the scene released by the array. The brief radiance caused the ocean-like primal chaos energy to boil. At this moment, the 10th chaotic divine mountain seemed to have been revived. Above the mountain peak, lightning and thunder rumbled as the primal chaos spread out. It was as if the sky was opening as a waterfall of primal chaos poured down. It contained the power to suppress heaven and earth and filled the entire place. Don't be anxious. He still needs a few more days to climb the mountain. Let's wait here. The chief elder from the ancestral hall saw the might of the killing array and became even calmer. He said in a cold voice, "Perhaps our clan's Zhu Tian will be here before he gets close to the mountain peak." This Su Yen is really courting death. This sentence caused them to agree. The pressure of the chaotic divine mountain was extremely strong, and it was not easy to climb up. The process might take a few days or even longer. Su Yen, is it very tiring to climb the mountain? The elder of the ancestral hall sat cross-legged on the peak of the chaos divine mountain. He was calm and dignified. He looked down at Su Yen and sneered, "You were lucky enough to not die last time. Why are you attacking our ancestral hall's resource secret realms now? I think your head must have been kicked by a donkey. Don't think too highly of yourself. How can the secret realm of our clan's resources be something you can easily touch?" Elder, some ancestral hall experts wanted to say something but hesitated. They all felt that the Grand Elder had gone mad. Wasn't he afraid that Su Yen would climb up and chop him up? In short, they didn't dare to use such words to provoke Su Yen. Wasn't the lesson from before enough? In fact, the ancestral hall Grand Elder had said this to infuriate Su Yen. He wanted him to ascend the mountain and waste time here. The ancestral hall Grand Elder felt that Su Yen didn't know that Zhu Tian had already begun to return. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. He suddenly pulled out the sword embryo on his back. Buzz! The dazzling sword embryo was bright and resplendent. The sword chi was so terrifying that it could easily cut through the void. Bastard! This scene infuriated the Grand Elder. This was their ancestral hall's divine weapon, the Sky Splitter sword that was refined using the heaven refining furnace. It was peerless and sharp to the extreme. Now, it was in the hands of Su Yen and was even used as a weapon to attack the chaotic divine mountain. Clang, clang. Su Yan's fingertip tapped on the sword. The Sky Splitter sword vibrated on its own. The sharp sound seemed to cut through the entire sky and reverberated throughout the entire chaotic divine mountain. Many people's primordial spirits were on the verge of shattering. What are you being arrogant for? Climb the mountain if you have the ability. The Grand Elder roared. He felt that Su Yen was demonstrating his power here. One had to admit that this was very uncomfortable. This was clearly their ancestral hall's divine weapon, but now it was in the hands of Su Yen. Even though Su Yen was provoking them like this, they didn't dare to descend the mountain. This was too sullen. The sword was still vibrating and surging with sword radiance. Its momentum was even more terrifying. It was filled with the power to split the sky and split the sea. At this moment, Su Yen seemed incomparably tall. The experts of the ancestral hall suddenly saw a terrifying figure crowding the entire chaotic divine mountain. It was so surging that they trembled and wanted to kowtow. Boom! The entire chaotic divine mountain was boiling. The sword energy was like a river of stars flowing in reverse. Overflowing sword radiance was released, accompanied by the sea of essence blood that erupted from Su Yan's body. It pierced through the heavens. Many people were frightened and alarmed. Someone asked the Grand Elder, "He can't be climbing up directly, right?" Impossible. Without experiencing the test of the chaotic divine mountain, how could Su Yan climb it so easily? The Grand Elder directly denied. He was still able to maintain his composure and wasn't frightened by Su Yan's explosive aura. However, just as he finished speaking, his expression changed greatly again. His finger was trembling as he pointed at Su Yan. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the figure covered in murderous light pierced through the sky and charged towards the chaotic divine mountain. The pressure of the chaotic divine mountain was nothing in front of Su Yan. It was as if it didn't exist at all. What? The experts of the ancestral hall turned pale and their eyes widened. Their faces were full of disbelief. How could this be? How could Su Yan ignore the pressure of the chaotic divine mountain? Unless he had been here before. No matter how strong the pressure of the chaotic divine mountain was, how could it compare to the pressure of the buried God mountain? Su Yan completely ignored the pressure of the chaotic divine mountain. His aura was incomparably powerful. Boom! The earth in all directions trembled as if a sudden clap of thunder had exploded. Su Yan soared into the sky. A huge crack appeared in the void, and a path to the peak of the mountain appeared. Moreover, Su Yan's aura was leaking out. The great Tao divine power that gushed up had already intimidated the great killing array arranged on the mountain peak to rumble continuously. The heavenly marks of the great Tao that filled the sky showed signs of collapsing. Stop him! Many cultivators of the ancestral hall were frightened. Their faces turned green. They thought that it would take a few days, but who knew that Su Yan would rush up directly? He can't come up. Suppress him. The Grand Elder of the ancestral hall was in charge of the protective array arranged on the peak of the mountain. When it was awakened, it shone brightly. The heavenly marks of the great Tao burned brightly. Boundless chaotic waves surged within. The momentum was boundless and shook the heavens and the earth. Many cultivators in the distance were shocked. They all looked at the 10th chaotic divine mountain. The protective array on the chaotic divine mountain is activated. They were all shocked one after another. This killing formation was ridiculously powerful, and the movement it produced was exceptionally great. Even the stars in the sky were rustling and trembling. When that ocean-like chaotic storm erupted, it seemed as if it could sweep down a galaxy. Is the ancestral hall facing a strong enemy? Why did the array suddenly activate? They were all shocked. They all rushed over, wanting to see what was happening on the chaotic divine mountain. The reason why the protective array was so strong was related to the unique cultivation environment of the chaotic divine mountain. Once the array was awakened, the chaotic aura would surge. When it fell, it was like a chaotic galaxy descending from the sky, covering the entire land. One had to admit that the killing array was extremely strong. It was actually a set of array discs taken out by the ancestral hall to create a cultivation place for Zhu Tian. Although Zhu Tian had only cultivated here for a year, it was already extravagant enough. Now that the killing array was activated, its strength was naturally shocking. The Grand Elder of the ancestral hall slapped his thigh and laughed. Good, good, good. The protective array has been nourished for many years. It's strong enough to suppress Su Yan. You want to block my path with a broken array? Open. A cold voice was transmitted, followed by the awakening of a sword ray that reached the sky. Su Yan brandished the sky-cleaving sword and began to slash forward. The moment the sword ray appeared, it shattered the void for thousands of miles. It was filled with the power to slash the heavens. With just one slash, Su Yen had awakened the sky-cleaving sword to its ultimate domain. This slash surged with a soaring sword intent. It was like the Milky Way flowing against the 9 heavens. In the distance, they all watched in disbelief as this slash split open the chaos and attacked the protective array. With Su Yan's cultivation, he directly caught the weak spot of the protective array. This slash was extremely sharp and cold. It split open a corner of the protective array. Not good. Everyone in the ancestral hall was terrified. The protective array was split open with just one slash. They were truly in despair. Su Yen directly climbed to the peak of the chaotic divine mountain. His figure was majestic. He held the sky-cleaving sword and said coldly, "Today, I'm here to take your lives and take a look at my harvest. Su Yen, you're too arrogant. Zutian will be here soon. Know your place and scram." On the peak of the mountain, the experts of the ancestral hall were at a loss. Su Yen had already reached the peak of the 10th chaotic divine mountain. Everyone could feel the terrifying sword chi spreading out from his body. "Zhu Tian will die even if he comes." Su Yan's words were like a bell that exploded on the peak of the 10th chaotic divine mountain. The originally shattered array began to fall apart. The experts of the ancestral hall directly fell to the ground and trembled. They only felt that their bodies were about to collapse. They were extremely terrified. This demon king had climbed up the mountain. Who could stop him? Boom! Su Yen fiercely brandished the sky-cleaving sword, revealing a might that could split the sky. Slash! He roared. His blood-stained hair danced as he began a massacre here. The world of sword radiance seemed to have been dyed red by blood. This was a tragic event that happened in a single exchange. The 10th chaotic divine mountain was dyed in blood. Even gods and devils would have to nurse a grievance if they came. "You demon!" The ancestral hall doyen was terrified. In a single exchange, it was as if a supreme demon lord had suppressed the entire chaotic divine mountain. Even someone as strong as him was trembling and his legs went soft. Was this the strength of a peak overlord who had killed over 100 peak experts and survived the god burial mountain? He was trembling in fear and despair. Who could stop Su Yen? Moreover, he was wielding the sky-cleaving sword, a great killing weapon of the sect. Before the surging sword radiance arrived, the doyen only felt that his body was being torn apart. This was completely a purgatory world. Heads flew into the sky one after another. This was a shiny sword embryo that cut through the void and beheaded the enemies. Su Yen was slaughtering here, sacrificing the experts here. This chaotic divine mountain didn't have any experts from the ancestral hall overseeing it. Su Yen was using a skillful method. He brandished the sky-cleaving sword and slaughtered in all directions. "You all want to kill me. Today I will flatten your resource secret realms. Let's see who is afraid of whom." Su Yan's angry laughter rang out. He brandished the sky-cleaving sword wildly. The 10th chaotic divine mountain was like a purgatory on earth. Corpses and blood flew everywhere as sword chi rampaged.